Brian Sakwa, and I'm so happy and excited to be right here today. Today's all matters innovation and entrepreneurship, and so we have an amazing show lined up for you. But first things first, we are gladly requesting you to tell us where you're watching us from, because we love each and every time you talk to us on our social media, and that includes Meta, Facebook, Insta, Threads, TikTok. Meta, is TikTok part of Meta? No. So Meta is just Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, which I've not visited recently yet. Have you visited Threads? Are you still using Threads? Yeah. So tell us at Y254 channel _ on the gram. Personally, mine is at Brian Sakwa101, and I'm not alone. And by the way, we also have a question of the day that has been loaded up, coming up shortly. I'm alongside Stephanie. Good morning to you, Steph. How are you?
Good morning, Sakwa. I'm very fine this morning. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm just trying to see some updates here. Very interesting, especially in regards to KCSE exams that are ongoing. And Telegram. We'll just get to that in just a bit after you're done with your intro.
Okay, so good morning to you. It's a lovely Tuesday morning, and we're catching up well with the week. We have an amazing show for you today. Insightful. You definitely want to be a part of this. Remember that the hashtag we're using is Y in the morning at Y254 channel. And the question that we have asked you today on our socials, which would want to interact with you on, is a simple one. We have asked you that before, only that maybe today we have raised the bar a bit. So what would you do if you had 30,000? What kind of business can you start with 30,000 shillings? So talk to us. The hashtag is again Y in the morning at Y254 channel. My personal handle is at Stephanie Ayeta, and of course at Brian Sakwa.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of social media, so there's an update in regards to the current KCSE exams, and anyways. But anyways, there's an update in regards to the ongoing KCSE examinations, and this is in regards to irregularities that are happening. So let me just brief you, and then a development update, and I'll pick your reactions on it. So the suspect, Stephen Nyang'ao, a fraudster linked to leaking KCSE exams via Telegram, has been arrested. Nyang'ao Mbeche was found with examination papers via his largely followed Telegram channel. He was arrested by detectives attached to the Kenya National Examination Council. So, quote unquote, a detailed search at his premises resulted in the seizure of a mobile phone and a laptop that supposed tools of trade he used to exploit rather parents and students involved in the cheating. That's according to a police statement. But on the other side, there was a response initially before all these developments went viral from the Communications Authority of Kenya. They issued a memo, and the memo was sent to Peter Ndegwa, that is CEO Safaricom, Ashish Malhotra, that is Managing Director, Airtel Networks, Mugo Kibati for Telcom, and CK Joshua, Chairman CEO Jamii Telecommunications. So the memo read, the title of the memo is Temporary Suspension of Telegram Services in Kenya, and I'll just read it through first. It says, it has come to the attention of the authority that the Telegram platform in Kenya is being misused to perpetrate criminal activities, including compromising on the integrity of the ongoing national examination, and as a result, various government agencies have reached out to the authority to seeking assistance in taking down all social media channels and forums, including Telegram, that is interfering with the integrity of our national examinations, whereas all other social media platforms operating in Kenya have taken steps to address the misuse of their platforms. We note that Telegram Inc. has remained non-responsive and continues to host offending forums and channels in blatant breach of laws of the land and the general principles of data protection and privacy. And lastly, by this letter, we are requesting all mobile network operators hereby directed to use available mechanisms to suspend operations of Telegram Inc. in the country, particularly during the administration of KCSE examinations between 7 a.m., just right now when we began the show, to 10 a.m. mid-morning, and then from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, from Monday to Friday, up until November 22nd of 2024. That's when KCC will be, done.
Done.
Yes, so interesting reaction right here.
That's
I don't
quite-
know what you picked from that.
That's quite something. For the longest time, and I think we just know it. Telegram is that platform that people get anything and everything from, and I think it was more common, at least for me, when
Yeah.
who was it? Edgar.
Yeah,
Or
to
Barry
go Barry,
sometime back when he was banned from Instagram, and then he went to Telegram because
Yeah.
there's no restriction on Telegram.
Yeah.
So that's how much Telegram has that freedom or non-restriction, which could be detrimental really to the country to a large extent, because a lot of information would go there
Yeah.
and would not know. And it's also popular because of the kind of content it allows,
Yeah.
content that these other social media platforms can't allow. When you
Yes.
talk about the tapes that are not really supposed to be seen,
Yeah.
they're there on Telegram.
Yes.
And now even when it comes to exam cheating, well, that's also the platform that's used. So it's only about time that some measures have been taken about Telegram, but I understand that some people can still access it when they use VPN.
Yes.
So I don't know how much that restriction really benefits, how much benefit it really has, because if I'm still able to access it via VPN, then
Yeah.
doesn't it beat the purpose? Because if I'm someone
Yes.
who's really targeted and bound to get information, then I will still get it. If I'm determined enough, then I will still find my way to it. So because you've said it's up until the exams end,
22nd,
up until
of November.
22nd, and
That's
then now it's
literally next week.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think more should be done about it.
But then the
But-
thing is,
Uh-huh.
sorry to cut you short. The
Yeah.
thing is, Telegram has not responded, and they're not even responding. Telegram is I think is developed by this Russian guy who also has a current ongoing lawsuit with should be Russia or China or the USA. Yeah, there's something they're investigating, especially with data. So I don't think they have reps here in Kenya. The only thing you can do is send them an email and it will go to trash, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So that is not helpful. But
Yeah.
at least they've taken a measure. It's the effort that counts. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we do not have cheating.
In
they've already
exams,
caught
yeah.
someone. So hopefully, we do not have cases of exam cheating.
The gag about this examination, exploiter, because he's been selling, he's been conning parents and telling them that, what, do you need chemistry papers? I have paper 1 and 2. Good Lord, there's still paper 1 and 2. I did 3 chemistry.
23.
Hopefully not, tafadhali. So yeah, so he's been conning and scamming parents. He posts on Telegram. For I think paper 1, it's costing maybe 3,000. And so if she has to sell it to, let's say, if it's a class of 60 students, you can imagine how he's charging per student.
Yeah.
And then now the interiors, I can imagine now the schools that are in the interiors where, those some of those deputy principals are not privy to, such. Like right here in Nairobi, watu wamechanuka, of course. But then in those interiors, they'll be like, oh, kona paper gani? Oh, to pay. But it turns out it's not even the same paper.
The actual paper.
Yeah.
Which is quite unfortunate. Some people make a fortune out of this, but siku ya mwizi ni 40. They get caught eventually. So why do it in the first place? And end up suffering for your lifetime. You might not be jailed for a lifetime, but he will suffer the consequences for his lifetime. So there's no need really to do this. But I'm glad that the exams are almost coming to an end.
Right.
It's almost a week.
Yes, it's just this week. By next week,
By
they'll
next
be
week they're
home.
done.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm imagining the feeling, the excitement
Yeah.
that they have, and of course the pressure that is still there. But I'm sure they will be so happy to get done with this exam.
Yeah, I
And,
used to hate
start-
it. Yeah.
Start the holidays.
Yeah, I used to hate it for me in high school when like let's say your friends are finishing their, maybe they did different papers, maybe because of chemistry and physics. So the chemistry class maybe comes last, and so you have to sit until, maybe 2 or 1.5 weeks till the exam is done. But then your friends, they're like, they leave. I don't know if you remember that. It used to happen.
Or like when you have one paper remaining.
Yes,
that
and you
was
have to
very
stay a week. And so your friends go, and I used
And
to
you-
hate that thing.
Yeah, it was really annoying. Like, mbona wangepanga tu hii exam?
Yeah.
I remember I did my time. I think was the last paper geography. I can't remember.
Was it physics?
I think it was physics and geography, because I remember I stayed to the last day, and
Yeah.
some people had left, but we were also quite a number.
Right.
Because when walikuwa wamaliza walikuwa wanaenda. So I think the geography ones tulibaki, and then the rest went, which was not so cool. And then now we finally finished the next day, and then
Yeah.
boom, we went and we were done. It was the best feeling ever at that particular point in
The
time.
anxiety just,
Like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
Adios. No
we
school anymore.
finally get to, there used to be, Sijui, you're now becoming part of the world, Sijui, the world owns you, Sijui, now you have to get an ID. There used to be those, sentiments here from, especially those head teachers who are threatening. Oh,
Yeah.
this will determine if you go to, but look where we're at, man.
But it's true, though. They didn't lie.
But yeah,
and
true. Na sisi
it's true.
tulianguka, by the way, kwanza wengine wetu tulipata S, but do we say that's a joke? And speaking of a joke, this one is not a joke. This one is a serious development still from just what we're talking about. So,
Yeah.
former Certificate of Secondary Education candidates at Shinas Boys High School arrested in connection with the killing of a colleague who was stabbed to death on Saturday. According to Gilgil Deputy County Commissioner Willie Cheboy, they were detained at Gilgil Police Station, while 5 others are still at Baruch Police Stations. Not stations, yeah? Police post. He stated that after they sit the exams, they'll be arraigned in court virtually. That is in Naivasha, where police will seek more days to conclude investigations. He pointed out that more details are emerging after interrogation. So I was checking out an update that was covered by one of the stations yesterday. The investigations are saying new developments on that incident at Shinas is that they're not sure if they used a bottle to injure the demised victim, or the victim who is deceased, or they used a knife. So it's still, details of it are still scanty. And then I think one of the administrators within the county said the school has been experiencing leadership wrangles, and perhaps there's so many other issues that are underlying that could have contributed to, such, let's say, a heinous act. Yeah, of that's literally murder, and murder is, I think the sentence for murder is life imprisonment. Yeah,
Yeah, it
if
is.
you're found guilty.
Yeah, of course, it's life imprisonment. In some countries, of course, it's by death, murder, and especially if it's called murder. Now, now they're saying they're trying to investigate if it was either a bottle or
Yes,
a
or
knife.
a knife. Yeah.
But I'm wondering how they're able to even go to school and do the exams. Like, how are the other students reacting to them? Like, how are they
Yeah.
being treated?
And then the anxiety, the panic that
yeah.
has created around the exam, in that
I would honestly
Silly.
feel that they should have done it separately somewhere else. I don't know.
Sure, I also think so. Like,
'Cause-
let them. But
yeah,
they're saying they are commuting, like, from jail to school
yeah.
and back.
I
I'm
know,
sure that
but
creates a certain sense.
yeah,
of
there's
air,
a certain environment that it
Yeah.
creates. Well, they know best. They know better on why they decided on that. Oh, quite interesting. Right here
Okay.
on People Daily, on the first page, the thing that has made news is how Kenyans have devised new ways of consuming weeds. You won't believe it. This is quite something. So, where is it? I'm trying to get the actual story, and it's gone somehow. All right. So, study highlights increase in harmful cannabis-laced meals. So, changes found new forms of administration are considered hip or classy or camouflage to evade smell detection, because weed is strong. You would easily detect it by smell. So there's increased consumption of disguised cannabis-laced edibles, portending profound dangers to public health and safety. The grave risk with the emerging weed-laced products is that it is much harder to identify cannabis concealed in legitimate products, and they could easily be sold to and consumed by unsuspecting members of the public, including children. So, a study has revealed that despite their robust legal policy and regulatory frameworks and law enforcement measures over the years, cannabis production, cultivation, trafficking, sale, and consumption are still major challenges in Kenya. So this is quite something. So, we know about this. Weed has been disguised. It has been there. It's not even funny. But when we talk about people being innovative, people have been innovative even with drugs, which shouldn't be the case, because nowadays, watu wanekanga weed kwa cookies, people, it's with in different things. And it's usually okay when it's just you and you are the one in danger because you've chosen that path. But now when we're talking about it being in the public domain and being a risk to even children, then that becomes a concern, becomes an alarm, and something needs to be done. Because now these are things that you wouldn't even know, because you can't smell it. When your weed is so strong, you'd smell someone from afar. Kutumia weed, but in the cookies, in the foods that people, because I remember a friend of mine some time back told me that someone gave him a friend gave him a cookie, innocently. She took it thinking that
it's just
cookie.
normal.
And she found it sweet, so she was actually asking for more. But the friend, because they knew what they had put, they did not give more. And because she was a first-time user, it can more affect. And later on, because she was laughing, she was, how people react to.
I can imagine the hysterical laughter.
And she was not herself. And then later on, the person told her that it was actually weed, and it was not an interesting conversation that they had, I believe, because you can easily joke to someone, but if someone is not for that, then you'd rather tell them, this has weed, you want to take it or not. But tricking someone into it, and because it will be sweet to them or something, is not really good, because we know the effects eventually after you take it for some time, then you become addicted. So ni vizuri kama, we're not advising the use, but if you're using it, peke yako, do not involve others in it without their consent.
True. I'm only imagining if that can land in the hands of a child. Like, I can imagine a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, 3-year-old. There's a time a video was shared on TikTok where there was this lady, I believe she was a house help. She was smoking the blunt, and then, she's charging the smoke to this young kiddo. And this kiddo again took the blunt and did the same thing. And that video went viral on TikTok. I don't know if she was found and arrested. But then you can imagine now a child being introduced to, cannabis.
At that early age.
Yes, and the damage to the brain. And the way they say cannabis stays in your brain, I don't know for how long, But then also in Kenya, we have so many songs, Steph, that glorify, I think there's one, at some point it was ringing in my head. I think Niko juu ya cannabis something. I think there's a neighbor of mine who keeps on singing that song loudly until pia ikanishika. And then it has a skeleo part, and then they have a dancing part on TikTok. So we've normalized it, Niko juu ya cannabis something. I'm sure it plays Kiyosha, Kina Kalondu, and Kendralbis.
You know how songs really pass a message across? And that's why we need to be very mindful of what we take in, because what you take in becomes sort of a part of you, then it becomes normal. We have normalized so many things because, you know, of mostly the culture that has been set, and music sets a particular culture.
Sure.
You know, when it's tukiangalia gengeton culture ni hiyo ya kukata maji,
Yeah, still bado kuwasha
kind of
kindukulu,
kuwasha
right?
kindukulu,
You don't know if
you
you
know.
remember that.
Yeah, you know, it sets that culture, and then it becomes, it's the cool thing to do, you know, but we
Yeah.
don't really know the repercussions of that. So you need to be very careful in as much as you even listen. Does it get to you? How
Yeah.
much do you consume it? Do you have like limits to you hearing it and not doing that? You know, how it's also glorified, you know, sexual activities and whatnot. It's through the songs. So
It reminded me of this guy. I don't know if you remember him. Alikuwa anaitwa Peter Miracle Someone.
Miracle
Peter,
Baby.
yes. He had this song that Ezekiel Mutua had to call out. I think it was it.
Nini baba yako sijui-
No. Wacha wainame, ainame something. Yeah. And then another one added, hatuhitaji ruhusa kuguza, and they said it's promoting femicide. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that, you know.
Yeah.
So songs really promote a certain culture, whether you know it or not. Subconsciously, it affects how you perceive life, how you see people, and what sort of thing. I think that's why when you when you get to know someone, you need to ask them, what type of songs do you listen to?
Yeah.
And
Or
then
genres, so that you're able to,
genre,
you know,
and then
judge.
you know,
Yeah.
we might not be able to to see life the same way or reason together, because that forms their belief system and
But
what
film too,
they
there's a feature, you know,
they
and there's a
value.
feature in it towards white, the way we say it, and it's a gospel, but akifika kwa environment yake ana manifest, you know. So people are very creative out here.
Yeah. So, but you know, you just be cautious.
Yeah, and speaking of creativity, before you just jump in step, so there's an update here regarding SMEs, small and medium enterprises. It says at least 3,000 small businesses closed since the year began due to tough economic times, and data from the Kenya Economic Update report shows at least this have been forced out of operation as the economic crisis in the country bites. This figure has increased of over 1,200 more from the previous year in a similar period. The report, according to the financial year 2020-2021, this began at a time when COVID was at its peak and when businesses shut down in multiple thousands. And those who opted out of business cite unbearable economic times and high taxes coupled with political instability that led to the June-July anti-finance bill protests. And just quote unquote, it says, whereas 3,104 businesses have dropped off since the year began, thousands are still struggling to stay afloat. Many of those struggling businesses are no longer hoping on profits, but to earn just their working capitals back. So July 2023, the update dates back to last year. Data from the Business Registration Service, that is the BRS, indicated that between 2018 and 2023, that's a period of 5 years in between, 9,441 registered companies in Kenya had closed. And this again includes many of them crashing out on hard economic times. So they're also saying the Gen Z protests have led to some SMEs, small and medium enterprises as well, you know, closing down. But then, yeah, I think it makes sense because you remember that period between June, July, it was all about just going to the streets, going to the streets, and people literally shut their businesses to go picket and demonstrate. So they're saying this has contributed to at least 3,000 of them closing down. Wow. Because most of them are citing lack of market, lack of capital, and political instability, these political wrangles you're experiencing in the country right now. Okay. And 3,000 is a huge number of small businesses, you know, closing.
It is, but I don't think they closed their business to go picket.
Yeah.
I think they might have closed, especially for those that were in CBD, because of the fear that the business will be, you know, invaded, and there would be all that. But and in closing, yes, they suffered. Maybe they probably suffered losses. So that's the side effects of the maandamano, the negative side effects of the maandamano, in as much as the public achieved their goal of having the finance bill dropped, some had to pay the price to some
Yeah.
extent.
Mhm.
That is losing their businesses, but something should be done. I believe something should be done to cushion them, to support them, come back, because SMEs contribute a whole lot to the economy, and they also create a lot of jobs for people out there that are looking for employment. So the fact that they had a business already, they
Yeah.
can be supported to bring it back, and try to hold myself back from calling the government because
Yeah.
tunalianga government sana, but
Actually, there's a comment where somebody reacted and said,
uh,
last week, instead of saying the government, amesema last week Ruto got 78 billion from the IMF. Why can't he inject it into the economy? And there's a whole response of thread of people jumping in. So I think now, I think from that, it's like Kenya has received some money from IMF. 78 billion is a lot.
yeah,
Hopefully haitapotea kama hizo zingine.
yeah.
No.
We could only hope that it helps the economy, boost the economy or something, so that people do not cry anymore, people do not suffer anymore, prices go down,
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah,
Moving to what I also have here, this is on Matters Health. So state medical cover U-turn. So now, new regulations indicate that proposed scheme for public servants would be operated by funds appropriated by the National Treasury and those paid as medical allowances, and this is covered more on page 6. So this is a U-turn because the public servants, the cover was to be paid by those that are already paying for SHA and those that are people in employment, and so there was some outcry or some unrest about that particular matter. So now the new regulation indicates that the proposed scheme for public servants will be operated by funds appropriated by the National Treasury and those paid as medical allowances. So this should bring at least some ease and peace
Yeah.
among the public. And another story right there, still on the front page, CS Churchill in knee-jerk reaction over JKIA extortion embarrassment. So on page 2, they have covered that quite well. So this is the story. Planned changes follow a complaint on social media by a visitor that she was mistreated. So the government has moved quickly to address these recent claims of extortion by introducing reforms meant to improve the passenger experience. So the changes include introducing modern technology to speed up passenger processing, said a statement signed by 3 cabinet secretaries, including Davis Churchill of Tourism. So that's the thing, which should be the case, because if we have automation and digitalization, it will definitely reduce paperwork and expedite processing, enabling smoother travel experiences for both domestic and international passengers. I'm quoting what has also just been written there, and I agree to that. If that but terrible incident has brought this good change, then it's a plus for us, because
Yeah.
who wants paperwork nowadays? And especially in an airport where people want to move, you want to catch flights and all that. So it just brings us to where we want to go.
Yeah.
And I love, as a way of just loading the government and what it has done at Nyayo House, things are now very efficient. At least from the stories I've had from a few people that have applied for a passport. Now it's more efficient. The process is clear. Once you have applied online, you go get your biometrics, and after some time, it doesn't take that long. I don't think it goes for more than 2 weeks now.
Yeah. I think it's a week now.
It's really
7
short.
days, yeah.
It can go 7 days. I think if it goes for longer, it could be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But you get your passport immediately, and when you even go, you don't take too long online queuing, because you're given that time, and at that time that you are meant to go and collect it is the time you'll be called in. So there's that good processes that is happening there. So if that can be applied in all sectors, you know, in government service, then would be at a good place. If that is
Right.
applied to Huduma
Especially
Center,
health. Yeah,
is
where
applied to
you're going to seek health
hospitals.
facilities in public,
Exactly.
hospitals like KNH,
Uh-huh.
and you get instant services. I think that can be impressive.
Yeah.
But then there's a development still on what you've just pointed out. So KRA had declared that they want all arriving tourists in the country to issue out the phone IMEI numbers or IME numbers, yeah, so that they determine the value of the phone, so that they determine how much again they're going to charge them. But then it received a massive outburst. I think there was a Mzungu tourist who was, taken through the process, and she said she parted with almost $1,200. But then it received massive outcry on social media. Larry Madowo again tweeted about it, and we had CS Rebecca Miano, announcing the revocation of that. So he says that tourists will not be required to declare their gadgets in main numbers upon arrival. The reason they gave is Kenya is a strategic location and a gateway to East Africa's position as a regional hub for tourism and business, and so it must therefore remain easily accessible. But then this thing, I think it was mildly there last year about one, where they want you, if you're arriving with goods that are worth, I think they had given a quotation of 700, was it $700 or 500? Yeah, from gadgets to, you remember there's somebody who bought a wedding gown and she was charged. Do you remember that incident? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it received
is
massive outcry on social media. So KRA had decided, you know what, if you have the most expensive iPhone, Samsung, and all those things that cost a lot of money,
For that.
yes, it must be, charged. And that process takes, like, the lady who was speaking about it on X said it took like 8 hours for her to be finally cleared. And she was to go for, I don't know, a meeting somewhere. So I think it's really interesting how, KRA and, there's issues still at JKIA, Adani, KRA, and now tourism. So
yeah,
interesting stuff.
it's quite sad, because now you'd imagine that's just one person who spoke and maybe got hurt because of her position or her stature or her title in the public space. What about the people who have also just gone through the same thing, been frustrated and said they're never coming to Kenya? So that's some losses that would have encountered. But now, the CS Tourism coming on and speaking against it, and the CS for Transport coming on and saying that there are changes that will be implemented and it will now be digital and we won't need all this paperwork and all that, then it's a good thing.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that the bad incident led to it, but we're also happy that at least something will be done about it, which is a plus.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it's coming in just in the nick of time of the holiday season, when people are coming back from, those countries, those aunties, those sisters, big brothers, cousins from States, UK, Canada, Australia. It's like they're just laser focused on them and what they are bringing. So it's actually it's just next week and then Christmas.
No,
so
we still have some time.
2 weeks, right? 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, two more weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Is it 2?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we have
almost
2 more
2.5 or 3 weeks. And speaking of Christmas and people going to other countries, there's a story about what happened a couple of weeks ago in regards to Kenyans being sent to Qatar for the opportunities as initially proposed by Cabinet Secretary Labour Alfred Mutua. So he says qualified candidates will be notified through mobile phone calls, not SMS. Because initially there's people who've been scammed. They've been told, oh, you've been selected to go to Qatar, please pay 6,000 for clearance and medical something, and then it ends up being a scam. So Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua has said notifications of qualified candidates from Qatar interviews held at the Kenyatta National Convention Center. Is it Kenyatta or Kenya? Kenyatta. KICC will be notified by phone call and not SMS. In a statement, he cautioned Kenyans who recently interviewed for the Qatar state jobs against falling prey to scammers and conmen. And quote unquote, appointment letters should be available for collection only at KICC. Security agencies are actively pursuing authors and publishers of the above and other similar misleading and false information intended to scam unsuspecting Kenyans. This comes weeks after thousands of Kenyans stand up for Qatar State Jobs interviews at the Kenyatta International Convention Center and at Kabete National Polytechnic following an announcement by the Ministry of Labor. So they're saying only candidates registered for specific roles will be allowed in. So please ensure that you're familiar with the job duties. And the recently memorandum signed between Kenya and Qatar aims to increase Kenyan workers from the current 67,000 workers between 67,000 to 200,000 and 300,000 workers. That's a huge number of Kenyans being taken to another country. But the good news is they're going for employment. But then also, is it sustainable in terms of if it ends, or if it's a short term? Hopefully it's a long-term contract, like let's say 1 year, 2 year, you know, other than 6 months, and then you're back to scratch.
I think it's usually the contract is usually 1 year, but there might be a 3-month probation, and then you get a contract for 1 year. And I know for Qatar, how they operate is is quite different from how other countries, even in the Middle East, operate. Like for most companies in Qatar, especially in the hotel industry, they have the contract usually states that you have to work with them for that period. Else, if you find another opportunity, then you pay them before you leave. Like you have to pay for you to leave because you have breached the contract. You know, unlike I think places such as Dubai, where you can easily move from a job to the other, because even as you go to these countries, then you get a chance to get better opportunities, look for greener pastures and whatnot. So that's the setback it could be, but again, 1 year is not too long for you to finish a contract and move to the other. The thing is that, you know, when you get an opportunity halfway, you know, you miss out on that opportunity because of this contract, which most people complain about Qatar. And even the working condition in some areas, you know, how they bundle people. I don't really want to say bundle, but the living conditions, you know, small rooms, many people share it, and
it's like more of hostels.
Yeah, it's more like hostels because people have to share these places. How do you?
But then the money that you're getting, where is it going to? Or savings?
No, you're being paid. You're being paid.
And then you're staying at the hostel, and then
that you're being given accommodation, but you also pay for that accommodation.
Or they're deducting from, you know, your pay.
Either they deduct or you pay somehow. I'm not quite sure, but I know the accommodation is not, you know, the fanciest that you'd find.
You'd think
but but again, you know, you want to move. When you go there, you want to upgrade, you want to move. This is especially for those in the hotelier industry or those that work for mostly in the hotel industry. I don't know, maybe for those that are in medical industry could be different, but I don't know. So yeah, it's an opportunity for them. Some people do not really appreciate or do not think it's the best, because they say, why can't you create this employment right here in our own country? So, and they have their own good argument, but you know, at least something is being done. It depends on how you look at it.
Better than nothing, or staying right here not having anything.
Better than nothing, It's a way for you to start save, and then you can come and invest back home, because now we're asking, what can you use 30,000? You know, to what business can you start with 30,000? So maybe when you're there, you can get obviously more than 30,000 in savings, unless you have so much black tax that you need to pay up. Then I think that's usually the worst case when you go abroad and people expect that you're being paid $1 million per month, or you're just plucking money from somewhere. And these
Right.
are stories of people who have lived abroad. So people
Yeah.
just imagine you're getting
Your
a
work
lot
is
of
to send
money,
money.
and they
Right.
will tell you, oh, that their children, oh, the
There's
fees,
matanga, there's a
there's your
wedding,
parent,
there's
there's
a
the
rurashio.
so all
Yeah.
of this on you,
Yeah.
and you have that burden to give back home. So when you come back home, you find that eventually when you relocate back, you find that you've
You have
spent all
nothing.
your years there, and
Yeah.
you don't have anything to show for it. And I think that's why it's important,
Yeah.
and why some investors are really targeting the people in diaspora, because of the
Yeah.
frustration that they get when they get back home, because they have nothing to show for the years that they've been away
Yeah.
from home, in terms of they have no investment, they have no business, they have not built a
Right.
house. And there's, there are companies now that are linking with diaspora, people in diaspora, and they have just building home for, there's like estates for people in diaspora, and they
Yeah.
because there are people that they can, companies that can be trusted, because now kuna watu wanatumanga pesa home, unatumua nyumba yenye hata si yako inajengwa, you get con, you get duped, which is very unfortunate. So I think that the best thing someone who's abroad can do is invest, so that
or get in a
eventually
circle. I think right now
Okay.
there's a lot of diaspora circles. I think one that's promoted a lot with Alex Chamad on his show, Daring Abroad. Yeah.
during abroad.
Daring Abroad, they have ways of people in Illinois, in Arkansas, California. Like Kenyans are everywhere. You realize from Canada, Germany, UK, US.
Everywhere.
So I think it's imperative for them to do that, so that you don't become, because there's also a time when they return and they're now called returnees.
Oh.
So you're a returnee, but like you said, you have nothing to show for it. I don't know if you have an update before we proceed.
All right. So yeah. So on still on People Daily, Fears State will raid payslips for yet another medical scheme. So these are the fears. Proposed comprehensive insurance cover for civil servants and others will replace one discontinued when SHIF was created. So I had mentioned a bit on this earlier. But apart from that, the other news is Kindiki replaces Gachagua in UDA lineup. And so Ruto completes Rigathi routes with placement of new DP as deputy within party. So UDA yesterday brought on board Deputy President Kithure Kindiki as the deputy party leader following the impeachment of his predecessor Rigathi Gachagua last month. And of course, this was to be expected, having that Rigiji is no longer in government and has been impeached. The position was obviously going to be taken over by Rigathi Gachagua. But something that he said got people talking online and questioning him. And I will just read that particular statement, which is a bit wanting. So what he said was that so UDA National Executive, okay, no, not that one. In all multi-party democratic countries, the party is the one that forms the government. So therefore, the party is bigger than the government. The head of state and government is a party leader first before being president. And that didn't make sense for many Kenyans. Like, what do you mean? In as much as you've tried to connect as a matter of fact, this and this logical, but it doesn't add up really. Because when you say the head of state and government is a party leader first before being president, but which is of priority, you have to be president first before you're a party leader, because you are there for the people first before for your party. So the interest of the people should be first before the interest of the party. So it didn't really make sense, and people questioned his credibility and all that. And some were asking what happens to the finest brains when they get to government and all that like people say online. But maybe he meant it in another way.
Maybe he's a lawyer. That is Mr. Abrake, now deputy president. Okay. I think he made also another inflammatory, if you look at it in another lens, but not exactly inflammatory. I think it was just an update about inflation. He said that Kenya's inflation has now toppled down to 2.7%. That's according to the current deputy president. And Kenyans jumped in. In fact, I shared that part as well on my Insta, and I was receiving some reactions. If we check the reactions, somebody also said something that you said, what happens to brilliant brains when they join some certain institutions? They say somebody needs to investigate what happens. And then it was followed again with Cabinet Secretary Health, Miss Deborah Baraza, who was heckled, saying, you know, that she is working, SHAF is working, but Kenyans, they're saying that Kenya, according to her, she thinks it's media that's perpetrating the narrative that SHIF is not functional. But then there are so many things that are dysfunctional, you know, right now. And I think from the innocent reactions online is that there's people who are, like yesterday we had somebody here say they had their cousin who benefited off SHIF. Yes, and there's one of the councils of bishops who they teamed up and said they're rejecting, only later on to learn that there was part of a medical fund that was being supported by the Catholic bishops of that specific group. I don't exactly remember the full details of the group, but you know, you see now. So they're saying the government should do away with SHAF, it should recall it. So there's still some dysfunction. Lecturers are still on strike as we speak. In fact, nurses, the whole KMPDU body is in waiting to go for, you know, their strike. So there's still some hitches left, right, and center in regards to that. But then an interesting thing, Steph, that I'm sure you'd like to cover is there's the COP29 that's happening at Baku in Azerbaijan. And Kenya's Prime Minister, Prime Minister, or I believe he's Prime Cabinet Secretary, not Minister, Musalia Mudavadi is there. And they've outlined Kenya's priorities for the global climate finance system during the COP29 conference that kicked off yesterday, that was Monday. Mudavadi, who is a foreign diaspora affairs cabinet, called for substantial reforms to make financial structures more accessible, effective, and fair. Speaking to journalists at Azerbaijan, he's representing President William Ruto in that forum. He said there's urgent need for equitable financing frameworks to combat climate change. And quote unquote, this is what he said. He said, we expect re-engineering of the financial architecture so that it can be more friendly, making it more accessible and effective. And then Kenya's delegation, led by Prime Cabinet Secretary and Environment Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale, stressed the urgent need for a system where polluters pay more and those most affected by climate change receive compensation. And then he also called for Kenya to reform amid rising concerns over lack of adequate financing for developing countries, particularly those in Africa, to address the devastating impact of climate change. It's a very long article, but I think you've gotten the gist. That's the main part of it. But then when you look at it, Steph, for Africa specifically in terms of climate change, but now the good news is COP29 is here. Are we looking at managing crises, combating crises, or adapting? Because I don't think in terms of the extreme of climate change, yes, it's a good opportunity for investment and for young people to tap into it because of the green economy jobs in it. But are we struggling with combating or adapting? Because we don't experience extreme, you know, winter here. In fact, the rains are seasonal, yes. It's like raining 2 months, it's flooding, and then it's gone. You remember, I think in May of this year, there was flooding, and some of the even business hubs shut down. So I think that's usually one of the factors in debates in climate change summits. Is it about adapting, mitigating, combating? You know, all those words that mean something. And then you can add in financing, and then now the issue of carbon credits will come into play.
In Africa, I know that for sure it might not be as dire as it is in the West, but we are seeing, we've started experiencing the brunt, you know, of it, because we have seen some changes, the drought that was there at some point, the flooding, and in different countries they experience different changes, but these are all related to the climate change. So we might not have caused it, we may not have participated as much, contributed as much to the problems we're experiencing in climate change, but we need to both manage and adapt. I think we need to do both because in managing that, then we prevent it from getting bad. We take preventative measures in adapting, then we take the necessary changes, we get to go green and all that, and that will help eventually, because it might get to a place where, in as much as we have not contributed as much, then we will still suffer
Yes.
the repercussions. So we need to do something about it. And when you talk about financing,
Right.
Africa has still not gotten the finances it needs, because in the last COP 28, it had been agreed that Africa would get some financing to help in the adaptation and to push for the green economy and all that. So it's still a problem, it's still a struggle, and some people were questioning whether Trump will even support this, because he might not be for it as much as the predecessors were. So how will this contribute to it? And it's not just the US, it's all other countries participating. So
Right.
how much will that contribute? And when you talk about carbon credit, it's there, but I don't think many people know about carbon credit. It's still so new, but is it something that we can tap into? But you also find that some people do not feel it's really a solution. The carbon credit is not really a solution, because they say, why would I allow a company to come and cause destruction to the climate, because we're getting some credit? We're planting some trees, I get some carbon credit, and then they're allowed to do some harm. Does it really amount? And even in the carbon credit, do we also get the same value that someone in the Western countries would get? If I'm planting 10,000 trees, then I'm being paid this much for it. Is it the same that would be paid for someone doing the same in the US? So we still need to get
Yeah, sure. But I think that's where Africa at least rips off Western countries without telling them, oh, we are dying, please, we need food. At least it's a natural thing that is organic. At least you can say, we need 10 billion US dollars, which is a lot for climate funding. So if Trump does away with that, that's when, you say goodbye to part of your relationship with the USA. But I know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But the key objective, I think this summit is really massive, and people need to know about it. So ensure that you read. But the key objectives in the COP29, I'm sure, Steph, at some point you might cover it, maybe with a guest or even me. It says with climate, this year's theme is, it's concerned about agenda is ambitious, focusing on emission reductions and financial support for vulnerable nations. So the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, signed in 1992, established the COP as a principal global platform. Details about it. Financing focus for African push for change, dubbed the Finance COP29, sees developing nations calling for greater financial support, with African countries advocating for a $1 trillion in annual adaptation funding. Yes, so it's about adaptation, Steph. Like we said, they're talking about adaptation. So this funding would address critical needs in agriculture, health sector, and infrastructure. So African leaders are also calling for international financing reforms to make climate funding more accessible, citing current support as insufficient for escalating climate change. So those are part of the details. But ensure at least you stay privy to these things, especially if you're a Gen Z or if you're a youngin, because these are some of the places where there's economists, because we even 90% of the people we've interviewed here actually are young people who are passionate about advocating for climate change. I've not seen an old or an octogenarian, they say, advocating for climate change. And these are opportunities for Gen Zs or young people to just be privy, get to know, get to tap into the spaces and get to benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. These are things that we can tap into even now when we look at opportunities that are there. When you align yourself to opportunities that are in the green economy and climate change, mitigation, and all that, then you get more opportunities. When we have innovations around climate, then you have a better chance of even getting funding and all that. So they're really supporting anyone who's supporting the change.
Can you read 1, 2, 3 comments? Sorry.
All right. So when we asked you a question on what you do with 30,000, this is what you had to say. Thank you for really tuning in. We have a lot of you who have commented. I will read some of the comments. Good morning. That is from Dennis Nyongesa. Good morning. Hapa nikiwa na Mwese in Bungoma County. Niko live pamoja hadi tamati. Awesome. So Kale KE anasema kuza bangi. Kale tuonane nyuma tent. You're 30,000. Tupatane hapa nyuma tent. John Templar anasema good morning guys. Nikiget hizo dosa hii. The most and for most ni kustart busy ya kufuga kuku and the rest is history. Hapo sawa. John Temale from Nevasha. Balozi anasema live kutoka na Mwacha Sangalo Bungoma County. Ismail anasema salute kwenu Y254 TV, kazi nzuri. Briona Steph, asante sana Ismail. There are a lot of comments there. Let me see. A few more. Ni Mavo anasema atibiz. Akacheka si tuko festive season. Flag ya Tanzania, if you know what I mean. Okay, yeah, amesema probably in vacation. Judging from the flag. Good morning from Tereko Bungoma. A lot of you. Morning, mimi naingia kwa Muhindi naelekea game mbili za odne. 24 hours ndakuwa na 120k. Amesema tuachane na story na 30. Yeah, ndakuwekelea odds.
Okay.
But be careful. Be careful. Tuliongelea mambo ya gambling. You know, usiweke pesa yako yote. Ikuwe tu for fun. Isikuwe investment as a biashara. Shadi, I'll just read this as the last or maybe second last morning. Watching from Kawangware. 56. Nikipewa hiyo 30k. Kwanza nitapeleka kwa church. Then ingine kwa I think orphanage. Alafu inabaki niekele biz. Hapo sawa Shadi. Biz gani yote ekelea. Hiyo 30k yote ameipangia hivyo vyote. Zachi Njeru anasema Embu present mimi naingia Eagle 1 nanunua. Naingia Eagle 1 nanunua babati zote. Hapo sawa. Matthew Gaidi anasema 30k na pesa ya kukula tu show kwenda mbele. Okay. Alright, a lot of you commenting. We'll get to read more later on. So keep them coming in. Hashtag hiyo moja tu Y in the morning at Y254 channel.
Yeah, it's time for us to take a break.
All right.
Yeah. So let's take a break, and the first conversation will be coming up shortly with Steph at Brian Sako 101 at Stephanie Ayeta at Y254 channel. See you in a bit.
Y254. Imagine.
Say bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sports, music, entertainment news, live TV, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hands. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital App in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital App.
stories shape our future. It's within them that we get to know ourselves.
God always came through in a way that we couldn't even explain. And we came to realize that putting God at the center of it is like everything else will just flow.
Everything.
What do you do when push comes to shove?
He was a great man.
Yeah.
At that moment, he was supportive.
Yeah.
Until 6 months, we went for the first surgery.
That's why here on The Nest, we tell you these stories to empower you and shape your parenting. Every Tuesday from 7:30 p.m. only on Y254.
This week on The Buzz, we have so much in store for you.
Nipange maneno ya bashi kidogo. Namna hii namna ile. Napana na hapa.
Tommy D. Jones tells us why he made the switch from secular music to gospel. Megan Thee Stallion has a new documentary out and we have all the details.
I'm having fun right now and I don't want to do it. And I feel like, how could I be Megan Thee Stallion and I'm not having fun?
We highlight the life story of actor Tom Hardy.
The wicked character. He's got dark tones and
Find out why Josh Wonder is the talk of town. Let's catch up on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. with me, Eve Nyaga, for this and more.
What's up, everybody? Have you heard of Bounce Nation? We are the latest, most sent-up show in 254.
You know how we do each and every Tuesday, Thursday. Mad vibes, mad music. When you see this face, amazing vibes, pure niceness, mad music. Now always kumbuka wewe ndoko in full control.
I'm unavailable. They know they see me.
I go by the name Feeling Jean.
And I am the beat doctor, DJ Epic, straight out of Gas Chamber DJs. You know how we do.
Of course, catch us every single Tuesday and Thursday from 4 p.m. all the way to 7 p.m. for mad energy, good vibes, and interviews and interactions with your favorite celebrities.
Shining in the setting sun like a pearl upon the ocean. Come and feel me, oh feel me. Feelun hai peene ka mausam. Tere sang ishq taari hai.
The young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports,
drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
To keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine.
it's art, it's culture, it's fun, it's attitude. We sample some of the best artistic works locally and beyond our borders. Oh, and don't get me started on the cultural events. Music, dance, fine art, culinary arts, and much, much more. You name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kasioki. Please join me each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on Y254 channel.
Y254. Imagine. Y254. Imagine.
This week on The Buzz, we have so much in store for you.
Nipange maneno ya bashi kidogo. Namna hii namna ile. Na bana na hapa.
Tommy D. Jones tells us why he made the switch from secular music to gospel. Megan Thee Stallion has a new documentary out and we have all the details.
I'm having fun right now, and I don't want to do it. And I feel like, how could I be Megan Thee Stallion and I'm not having fun?
We highlight the life story of actor Tom Hardy.
The wicked character. He's got dark tones and
Find out why Josh Wonder is the talk of town. Let's catch up on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. with me, Eve Nyaga, for this and more.
What's up, everybody? Have you heard of Bounce Nation? We are the latest, most stand-up show in 254.
You know how we do each and every Tuesday, Thursday. Mad vibes, mad music. When you see this face, amazing vibes, pure niceness, mad music. Now always kumbuka wewe ndoko in full control.
I'm unavailable. They know they see me.
I go by the name Feeling Jean.
And I am the beat doctor, DJ Epic, straight out of Gas Chamber DJs. You know how we do.
Of course, catch us every single Tuesday and Thursday from 4 p.m. all the way to 7 p.m. for mad energy, good vibes, and interviews and interactions with your favorite celebrities.
Shining in the setting sun like a pearl upon the ocean. Come and feel me, oh feel me. Feelूं है पीने का मौसम तेरे संग इश्क तारी है Y254. Imagine.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Always a pleasure to have you around. And now we start the first conversation of the day, an interesting one because it concerns us, as I always say, when you talk about information and what you get and what information can do is very powerful, and that's why we need to counter disinformation and misinformation. And under that umbrella today, we want to look at how can we recognize and resist fake news. What are some of the fake news that has been out there in the public domain, and how can we verify this information? What can we do about it? For this particular conversation, I am joined by two amazing people. That is on my right. I have beautiful lady Joy Mango joining us. She is a digital democracy fellow at CRECO, and we also have Brian Sengeli right beside her. He's also a digital democracy fellow at CRECO, and we'll be talking with them today. Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. All right, so let me start with you, Brian. Tell us a little bit about what you have done or what you do as a digital democracy fellow.
Thank you so much. And just to begin, good morning to our viewers. As you've heard, my name is Sengeli Brian. I am a digital democracy fellow at CRECO. And beside that, I work with the Center for Minority Right Development, where we empower and champion for the rights of indigenous minorities and indigenous communities in the country to, of course, avert their democratic rights in the country. So through that, I've been able to undertake various initiatives and also lead program that champion and promote the digital rights, especially of these communities and their participation in the digital democracy in this particular country and also across. So through this, we've been able to have both successes and challenges, but more so since the digital economy or the digital landscape is a dynamic thing, we are still catching up. So we're trying to catch up with it. And that's why we're struggling or striving every day to ensure that each and every person has a chance to participate fully in this particular landscape of development.
Okay, great. Amazing thing that you're doing there, and maybe we will be, as we go, will tell us more on what you are doing and how you've enabled them get to where they are in the digital space. Let me get to you, Joy. Tell us a bit about that, what you do.
My name is Joy Mango. Thank you very much, Stephanie, for having me in studio today. So I'm currently a fellow at CRECO for the Digital Democracy Fellowship. I'm also part of the legal team at Shani and Company Advocates. I'm also a member of the Wakili wa Watoto. So Wakili wa Watoto is powered by NCAJ. That's the National Commission for Administrative Justice. And what we do at Wakili wa Watoto, maybe this is how, so far before CRECO, how we have been helping in digital democracy, but it's been mostly for children. So we've taught a lot of children in many schools how to stay safe in online spaces, because children are very vulnerable in such spaces. So we've been teaching them about grooming, about misinformation, how to tell apart who is telling you the truth, who is trying to take advantage of you, how to we've even taught their parents how to guide your child, how to protect your child from these predators that are online, that are trying to prey on your child, trying to change your child into something they're not. Yeah.
All right, wonderful things that you're doing right there on promoting digital rights. And when you talk about digital rights, we think about freedom and everything. So looking at fake news, we see a lot of information out here on the social platforms, and some people think that, you know, it's my right, I can put out anything, so why are you following me? Don't unfollow me if you feel like what I'm posting is not news, you know, it's fake information. So it's my space, I do what I want with my space. It's my social media platform after all. So what do you have to say about this? Let me start with you, Brian, and then I come to you, Joy.
Well, the space of the issue of misinformation is a big deal, especially in the social media journalism, because you realize that majority of the users are the youth, and these are the population that is vulnerable to mis and disinformation, and therefore it's very important for them to have the skills to be able to identify the issue, fake news, propaganda, because you realize that the moment you are poisoned by misinformation, you tend to react to it. And the moment you react to it, it can be negative. And therefore, it's very important for us to develop necessary skills to combat this. When you speak of misinformation, in our country, it's not a new thing. It has been there, and it's something that is perpetrated not only by the small people, but also we've seen senior government officials being the perpetrators of fake news. And apart from them, we've seen also media playing a very critical role in advancing fake news. And therefore, it needs multi-sectoral approach for us to fight the issue, because the moment it goes beyond that, the effect is actually dire, because even those people who spread fake news, they should be aware that they are not only disturbing others, but they are also putting their own lives at risk.
How so?
Because, for instance, you are sharing information that is not correct, and majority of the in situations where we are having a crisis, for instance, either a political crisis, a health crisis, or even social unrest, those are the times that fake news, misinformation always thrive, because people are out there busy looking for solutions, looking for how they are going to contain the situation, either save themselves or also their loved ones. And it's because of this that they are exposed to the misinformation. They are vulnerable to misinformation, and therefore they tend to behave or tend to react based on their emotions. Yeah, and it's very dangerous, because we've seen this manifest in different ways. For instance, we've seen during the 2007 general elections, we've seen some instances during 2017 general elections, and a few instances during the 2022 general elections, whereby someone shares information that is not correct, and therefore the communities or people within the communities react differently, and then we will have chaos. And the moment we have chaos, either in Nairobi, if you stay within Nairobi, you are affected. You don't go to job. If you have a business, it's affected. So it affects you in one way or the other. Yes.
Okay, great. What is your take, Joy?
Just as you said, Stephanie, someone can post honestly whatever they want on their page, and that's protected by the Constitution. That is their freedom to express themselves. Yeah. But then now you, as the person consuming this information, you have to be smart. You have to think about it. Who is this I'm getting this information from? It's the same way. I can't be here talking to you about health issues. You get? You have to get your information from from key personnel. You understand? You have to be able to verify the information you're getting. Even if I'm the one telling you this is what the law says, you're allowed to ask, what exact law? Ask for a reference point so that you're not just consuming information blindly. You do not know where it's coming from. Also, the many influencers. Remember the other day, Morara Kebaso was expressing himself and he got arrested and charged. Yeah, in that moment, we saw the judiciary, we saw courts coming to at least protect the law and say, yes, in as much as he has freedom of expression, in as much as you wanted to charge him for something he has not done, he still does have that freedom of expression. And he is coming from a point of authority. You understand?
Yeah.
So if you're consuming information, you have to understand who it is you're getting this information from. Also, you have to look at how people like to consume information nowadays. Instead of someone watching the news, they would rather go on Twitter and look at a thread. Now, you see, we discourage that.
Okay.
We encourage find news from proper channels. Because in other channels, in someone else's page, when you have just said, mtu atakwambia it's my page. If you don't like it, unfollow. Go follow someone else. Yeah? So if you want credible information, follow credible sources. Follow Y254, follow KBC, follow... Exactly. Instead of following someone else who watched Y254 and is interpreting it for you how they understood. Now you see the effect of that is that this person may interpret it emotionally or based on whatever experience they have had already. Yeah? And you, who if you had gotten the information from the right source, would have interpreted it differently. Yeah.
All right.
So one key way to combat misinformation from just following anyone and everyone is, in as much as you'll consume information from everywhere, try and find the credibility, try and find the most credible source of that information. Yeah.
And I love what you've said because, you know, with the revolution that's happening, people are in the digital space really, and how they consume news is different from how 5 years ago people were consuming news. Someone may not sit down and watch TV. Still, maybe the baby boomers are still watching news at 9 p.m., sit down, watch what KBC is bringing, which is good. But someone else, a Gen Z, might prefer getting their news from Twitter. But we still get the media houses having pages on Twitter. So how about they get to these pages that are actually verified to give credible, to give verified information out there. So there's still that option, really, so that when you get other information, then you're able to know that this is fake information. Let me ask you, Brian, you gave good examples of how we have experienced misinformation, the spread of misinformation. What fueled this? Apart from political events, because in Kenya, you know, that's where people are very emotional and whatnot. What else fuels the spread of misinformation and fake news?
Fake news is fueled by quite a number of factors. And one of the things that fuel misinformation, fake news, is one, the digital illiteracy of the people, of the users of social media. Because, for instance, an article has been shared online, and you see, as Kenyans, we tend to use much on social media. There was a survey that was done that indicated that Kenya is leading in terms of social media usage. And therefore that means that we are using social media more in terms of getting news getting updated. and also getting ourselves in touch with the world outside. So when you look at it, majority of the people doesn't have the skills to identify which is fake news and which is a fact. People tend to share information as they receive it. It's called forward as received. So our work is just
many times.
clearing and forwarding. You receive information, you forward to your friends. You've not verified whether this information is correct or not. And for instance, I'll use the recent social unrest where we had maandamano, the Gen Z maandamano. There were a lot of misinformation around that. We saw images being shared that did not originate from Nairobi. It was actually from other countries. We had information that was shared that was not correct. And therefore, because young people did not have maybe the skills to be able to fact check, to be able to cross-reference the information, so they fall for it and they believe it. Because you see, even they say that a lie that has been reshared several times, it tends to be
believable,
to appear like it is a truth, but it's not. So it is because of the majority or the euphoria that the majority is sharing the information, the majority is talking about it, and therefore we fall for it. So someone said that we need to, the moment you are infected or injected or infested with misinformation, you need to be aware of the majority, because collective ignorance does not mean that it's going to be wisdom. So you have to be aware of that. Secondly, we have the social media. Social media has been a breeding ground for fake news, propaganda, and compared to traditional ways of communication, information flowed very slowly because we depended on either radio, TV, which it was slow way of communicating. But social media is almost
very fast, instant, you know.
You go to Twitter, everyone is tweeting, it's instant. So information actually spreads very fast. So it fuels either propaganda, it's fake news. Before you confirm it's true, it has spread, because fake news, it actually spreads faster than the truth. So it becomes a challenge. Another thing that fuels it is that we've seen very catchy media headlines, either used by media houses or newspapers. Very catchy headlines that they use it as a clickbait because people tend to click it. They want to. They are very curious. They want to find out what is really happening. And I usually use an example of there's an example where there's a media house that used this during the impeachment of the
former deputy president
Gachagua being stable for his boss. And that thing actually was misinterpreted by many people. It was taken out of context because you realize that those people in the village, they don't know that it is either sarcasm, humor, or anything.
Yeah, they take it as it is.
And because you see, especially those people in the rural interior, they usually depend on either social media, WhatsApp groups, and they actually act as echo chambers. So the moment someone has shared something that is incorrect, everyone else believes it. And therefore it becomes a challenge for them even to verify whether it's true or not. They start discussing. You go in the interior, you hear people discussing rumors. It's not true, but they are discussing it. They believe it.
And the whole village knows.
And the whole village knows it. So it becomes a challenge. And then another challenge that we've been able to see is the use of or exploitation of emotions. The articles that are fake most of the time appeal to emotions. So because someone is appealing to emotions, you tend to react out of it. It is charged emotionally. So it is meant to provoke your emotional stature. So you tend to share that information or believe even without cross-checking whether it's true or not. So it is very important for us to to have the responsibility of ensuring that the information we share is correct, because we are not only putting others in danger but also ourselves. Yes, we have the law that protects our freedom of expression, but now what happens after expression, after expressing yourself? Because words cannot be taken back. The moment you say something that is wrong, it is going to cause harm, and you saw harm, it cannot be cured.
When the damage is done,
Yeah,
it's already done.
It's already done.
Okay.
So it's up to us to ensure that we become people who are going to maintain the social media hygiene. Yes.
All right, great. You've mentioned a lot of points, and which are very key for us to know, you know, on what really triggers us to spread this misinformation. So when you're very emotional about something, relax first before you share and everything. You mentioned skills. People need to have skills, and I want to ask you, Joy, to tell us what are the skills that we need to have as people who are empowered and who have the knowledge. What skills do we need to have in order to counter and not be perpetrators of spreading fake news?
Maybe before I get to the skills question, maybe allow me to build a bit on what Brian just told us, in addition to everything he just said. And I like that you brought out how media houses can also spread misinformation. By that intriguing you with clickbait, by that intriguing your emotional side, you are triggered. You are triggered to follow whatever it is they're talking about. You don't think twice about it. In as much as I mentioned media houses as a credible source of information, you have to realize that these are also people. Yeah, and there is also politics in media. Yeah,
but okay, let me interject you a bit. Knowing that how media operates, the headlines, especially now, I understand that the media is also going with what the people in this era want, and you know, Gen Z want that thing that will really catch them and get their attention and want to read it. So is that regarded as fake information, or is it just something to get you interested, and then in the story, as you read the story, then you will get the actual information? Because there's no way they will tell you that Gachagua banged his...
Now the question,
you know,
Stephanie, becomes
the table.
How many people actually get to the watching and listening to the story? Because many people will simply read the headline, yeah, and tell you, hiya, haukusikia Gachagua banged the table on his boss.
Okay.
You see, and that's why, okay, again, at times, yes, the media house is here presenting the news to you. And as I have just mentioned, even media houses do have politics behind them. Yeah, they do have supporters, they do have these politicians funding them. Yeah, and as you have said, these other media houses are leaning towards the Gen Z movement, who are not exactly pro-government. You understand? Yeah. Now, these media houses are choosing sides. You get? Now, there's news that we are trying to say the government has done this well. And there's this pro-Gen Z media house. And Gen Z are, no, we're not friends of the government. Now, you see, this media house has to find a way to present its information in a way that their audience will like it. Because we want this audience to come back and see what it is we are putting out. Yeah? So even in as much as, yes, we want to trust on media houses, I would say again, find the most credible source of information. If we are talking about a law, the other day there was this bill to extend the terms to 7 years. Yeah? Very many people had not read the bill, but sent the email to see it. Now, you sent an email that you do not know says what, you do not know is against what. You need to understand what you're talking about before you say it. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe also in addition to things that fuel misinformation, is during crisis, things happen very fast. Like during Maandamano, we couldn't wait for 8 p.m., 9 p.m. to go back to the house to see what the news has to say.
The updates.
We need updates in real time. In real time. Now that's where part of misinformation is spread. Because while we are still waiting for credible information to be gathered and put out, a lot of misinformation has already been spread. A lot of people have already been misdirected. And a final thing that fuels misinformation is social media algorithm. Yeah, you know, algorithms push for what is liked best. Yeah, and people choose what intrigues their emotion. They choose what appeals to them, and not exactly what is truth. Truth doesn't always appeal to everyone.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Now back to your question.
On what are the skills? I think I'm still on the media houses, but it's okay. Maybe I have a bias. I have a bias because I work in the media as a journalist, because I know that media tries to be as, you know, for the people, you know, mostly for the people. I understand that there can be some influence, but I know that whatever information where it's, you know, the media, the journalists are guided by ethics and have to give credible information and all, but maybe it's something that the media can work on, look into working on. But let's go to the skills. What is it that people need to know about?
First of all, there's the simple skills. While not everyone has the critical thinking skills, not everyone can discern what is truth and what is not. I feel like the most simple way to find key information is just how I told you, verify, seek verification. Even if I'm the one telling you the bill says 1, 2, 3, 4, ask me for the bill. Tell me to share the bill with you so that you can read it for yourself.
Okay.
If a pastor is telling you the Bible says this,
confirm.
Confirm. Ask what verse, what chapter, what book. You get? If the media is telling you the president in his speech today said this, so you normally see they play a clip of what the president exactly said. Now that is what I'm calling verification. After someone has told you, Gachagua banged the table on his boss, say, yes, show me where it has been stated. Verify every information you've been given. That's one. Two, just like you said, Stephanie, if something is intriguing you emotionally, take a step back. Once in a while, just take a step back, wait for the emotion to fade off. Once the reason comes back, now try and consume the same information again. Now from a point of reason and not emotion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And maybe just to finish off, for these shared links, this forwarded many times, you know, clearing and forwarding, look at the links. Yeah, is this link a reliable source? Can you rely on, you know, it's like those 2 messages people normally send. Naivas is giving vouchers. You just have to share this link to 25 people. And you clearly see, hii link haijamention hata Naivas.
Naivas hawajaweka kwa site yao.
Naivas hawajaweka kwa site yao. You see things like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, at times you just have to step back, look at what this person is presenting to you. Reason with it, and you will see clearly. And that's something else. Once you doubt information, seek verification.
Immediately. Wow, I love that. And you know, it's not just on the news that we get online, we get on the media, but it's also news such as those ones, you know, to sort of bait you to get to the link, and then it can corrupt you. It can affect you in some point. Get a virus on your phone, you know, get you to send money, because people have been scammed through such. So whatever information it is, really make sure that it is verified.
Actually, it is really important for people to realize, to notice that, to know that fake news, misinformation is not presented as misinformation. You won't look at it and immediately know,
This is
uongo.
misinformation.
You know, the way in the morning segment, you are talking about laced cookies. That's what they look like. You'd have 2 cookies put in front of your eyes, and they don't look different. They're the same thing. You wouldn't know the truth from a lie until you consume it. Yeah, until you actually think about it. You remember years ago, I think 10 years ago, there was this time it was trending news that quails and quail eggs can treat anything and everything.
And people bought quails like
People
crazy.
bought quails, people ate quails. Everywhere you'd go, you'd be served quails.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
it
was
was
like
just
quail
hot air. Literally nothing came from that. And again, juzi tena nimeona dragon fruits. Everyone is eating dragon
Everyone
fruits.
is
Everyone
looking
is
for
selling
dragon
dragon fruits. You're being told, yes, dragon fruits are the new quails. Dragon fruits are the new liquid gold.
Lies.
Yeah,
Lies. Have you
lies.
verified that from a
when,
doctor?
When your doctor would just tell you, hey, tafadhali meza dawa.
Yeah. You know, and yeah, we need to mention that as well. Coming back to you, Brian, we have mentioned on the skills and everything, but talk about those people who are in the marginalized areas, because those are the people that you work with. Are they the most, looking at who are the most vulnerable to fake information? Is it Gen Z, or are they at a better position because they have the digital know-how, they know how to now, as a result even of this interview, to know how to distinguish between fake and bad? Or is it the people who are marginalized and they're just even getting on board, getting to know how to use the digital platforms? Who are the most affected?
When it comes to the issue of fake news and misinformation, actually everyone is affected, but the level at which they are affected differs. And it depends with various factors. When you speak of the indigenous and marginalized communities, majority of these communities, they reside in the rural areas. And when you look at the setup, the geographical architecture of the rural areas, majority of these areas, number one, doesn't have the electricity, doesn't have the technological infrastructure. So majority of them, first, they are having challenges with internet connectivity. They cannot utilize technology effectively and efficiently like the rest of the populations. So those are the challenges that they are facing. They don't have electricity, they can't access technology, and the few that has the privilege of using technology, they're now the media outlets for the rest of the society or the community. They are the source of information for the rest of the community.
So anything
And
they
if
say, they
anything
goes. Anything they say goes.
That if anything that might corrupt the information shared by these individuals, then the whole community is doomed. So majority of these communities, you realize that they rely on, and as I mentioned, media groups, either WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, where they share informations. And these groups, they act as echo chambers. So once information has been shared there, whether the information is correct or not, these people doesn't have the literacy to verify whether this information is correct or not because of the high illiteracy levels in these areas. So it becomes a challenge for them. So when you look at the vulnerability, you realize that those people are more vulnerable to the effects of misinformation. And come to think of it, whereby we have now the more vulnerable members of the community, like women, we have the children, we have persons with disabilities, we have the aged. These people, in case of any unforeseen circumstance that might happen in the community, they are the most affected. So when you look at it, it is an issue that affects each demographic in a very unique way. She said, she mentioned about the issue of believing information that is not correct. We need to embrace skepticism. Yeah, what you see might not be the correct information. You need to verify whether this information is correct. When someone says that okra water heals cervical cancer, go online, cross-check that information with multiple sources. Check whether the sources that has shared this information, is it reliable, is it genuine, or is it catfish accounts?
Yeah.
Because we have accounts, it has, yes, the logo of Y254, but now it is a parody account.
Yeah, not all, pages with the logo of Y254 is actually Y254.
Yeah, it
you
is
need
not,
to
yeah.
confirm.
You need to confirm.
And that's by the verification, the tick for,
Yes.
some sites, and even the follower, the numbers
Yeah.
can tell that this is a fake account.
Yeah,
or
it
not.
is very correct. It's only that nowadays, majority of the media, either media house or media companies or social media owners, they have, they are now trading in the issue of hygiene or social media hygiene with they're prioritizing business over what do you call it? I'm looking for the perfect term. But for instance, when you look at Twitter, before, for you to be verified as a journalist, there was a very long process to be verified. But nowadays, you just have to pay $800, and then you are verified.
Elon
So
Musk
it
did that.
becomes a challenge.
I actually remember Larry
Yeah.
Madowo. He was really angered by
Yeah.
it. He was really triggered by that commercializing of the verification tick.
Yeah.
Because for him, when he first got the blue tick, the verified on Twitter, it was because he was a source of reliable information
Exactly.
internationally. That's also how he landed his job at BBC, yeah? So when you turn that and commercialize it, and now
Anyone can get it.
can buy the blue tick, anyone can be Donald Trump.
Yes.
Anyone can be Larry Madowo. And I
That's
just
true.
have to pay for that stick. Then I will write anything I want to write.
So they are
that's
trading
the
in
danger
the
of
ethics
having.
and the principles of journalism. So it becomes a challenge even for the rest of the communities to know whether is this the legit Y254 page.
Okay.
Because if you are not keen, and then you also fall for it because it has the logo, it has everything. So it becomes also a challenge unless it is the extent of the damage can only be understood or known by those who are ready, and by ready I mean they're already armed themselves with the information. They have the skills to be able to identify whether this is the real channel or not, so that they can combat it with the facts.
Okay, awesome. Now, looking at children, now you've said it affects everyone, but they are most vulnerable. And I think that even in the political scene, they're also the targets, because whatever they're told by these influencers or influential figures in the political space, they believe and they take it as gospel without verifying. And that's the problem we have in Kenya, and we need to do something about it, honestly. Now, coming to children, because you handle children as well. So how can parents keep their children safe, even in the digital spaces? Even, they face the problem of cyberbullying, they face the problem of getting everything and anything in the internet, really. So how can parents protect their children?
When it comes to children and the online space, you have to understand that even away from the online space, children are vulnerable. Children are people that consume information as it is put out. Yeah. For online spaces, parents need to understand that a lot of what we consume online is age. Okay, the age ranking is for Western countries. And you see, for them, younger ages are exposed to way more than in
What we
African
allow.
countries. look at Netflix, what the age 16 plus, for us we would be like,
this is not
kidogo
for my
21.
16-year-old.
You
Yeah.
understand? So the same has to be translated even to applications, even to games. You remember, for people who are very social media and love celebrities, I remember there's this one time Kim Kardashian, Kim Kardashian's child was on Roblox and someone shared a link to her sex tape.
My goodness.
You see, Roblox is an online site for children's games.
Yeah.
How does a link to a sex
Sex tape.
tape end up there? You see, now you have to be keen. You have to watch everything that your child is going through, whether it is games, whether it is educational sites. You have to look at them. You have to be present. That's one thing that is very important, actually, in today's age, and children and the media. Yeah. Nowadays, very many parents have turned to a habit of, I'm busy, I need to keep my child busy, so I buy them a tablet.
That's true.
Yeah. So when I'm working, my child can be on their phone doing whatever it is they're doing, but you don't know what it is they're doing. Now, that attention that you're not giving your child, someone else is. In that online space, someone else is giving them that attention. Yeah. And now you see something that the digital age, the digital era has come to do is pull children further away from their parents. So if you're not a present parent, if you're not actively trying to be there, then you lose touch with your child. In a sense that even you're not the first source of information. I remember growing up, being as a child, we used to be told your dad is your first Wikipedia. Yeah? Me, I remember even growing up, before I Google something, I'd be like, Daddy, ini
I know.
nini?
Yeah.
But nowadays, you run to Google.
They know everything.
Exactly.
Even before you.
Even before they ask you, kwanza ni wewe wanakuja kukufunza. Yeah? You actually need to be a present parent so that you can monitor what is it this child is doing on the phone, who is this child interacting with on the phone. Like you said, there's a lot of cases of cyberbullying, and a lot of them go unreported simply because the child is afraid of the parent. Yeah? Ama the child has no connection with the parent. My mom is always working, and daddy is also on his laptop, and me, I'm on my tablet.
So everyone has their life, so, I
Yeah?
deal with most
And now
stuff.
that's where grooming comes in. Because then a 40-something-year-old man in, I don't know, India, somewhere there, will be like, today you posted a very sad photo. What's going on? Now you see, that old man has done something mommy and daddy don't do. They never have that chance to look up from their computers and say, today the child is kidogo quiet. Yeah? So now once this old person online has built that trust relationship with a child, you see now that was a predator who's found a way to connect with this prey, and that is how grooming happens. That is how you start seeing children on sexual sites. That's how unasikia sasa mtu anaanza kushanga, mi sijui mtoto wangu alitoa wapi hizi vitu. The entire time, all you needed to do was be present. Yeah?
Okay.
For parents out there, you really need to look at who your child is interacting with online, and as I said, verify. Because as Brian said, there's a lot of catfishing nowadays. Someone can use my photo and is a 42-year-old man. Use my photo, use my name, and you think, yeah, my daughter has this 23-year-old mentor. Yeah, I know her, yes. Entire time it's someone catfishing using my image. Yeah, you have to be able to verify what games are this, are they age appropriate? What movies are this? Yeah? Watch a movie before your child watches it. I know many parents hate it, even children themselves. Ata mimi, when I was a child, it was a very no. Why that is being,
Yeah.
you as a child, you don't understand it, but it is for your own good. Yeah, allow your parents to protect you, to shield you from the many dangers that are out here. Yeah.
Especially in the online space, I think.
Especially
There's
in
a
the
time
online
I found my nephew talking to someone online through the games Roblox. I was like, who's this person you're talking to? Like, no, my friend from the game. I'm like, hey. You need to know really who they're talking to.
Especially gaming culture, anyone and everyone games. Games don't have age limits. Yeah, it's
That's
normally
true.
3 and above, 2 and above. And above goes all the way to 60.
100.
So
you need
your
to
child is playing with as how many year old person on the other end, and you don't know what
they're
it is
telling
they are
them.
conversing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's very important for parents to take note of. And we also mentioned the roles. You had mentioned that it needs it's a multi-stakeholder. It needs a multi-stakeholder approach for us to achieve success in countering misinformation and disinformation. I know that for sure influencers have a role in this. As much we've talked about media houses, we've talked about the sites and everything, but influencers, what role do they have? Because they're also out to look for business and everything. They get paid. They also, and people trust them. That's the thing, and they get people to get on board on some products and things, which are false, not really recognized. And I know the recent incidents where there was a lady, a prominent lady, who passed on because of going to this particular place to get is it a liposuction or the surgery, and it was not a recognized institution, but it was out there being promoted by some influencers. So to some extent I'm seeing this as fake information or false information, misguiding people. What role do influencers play? Let me ask you, Brian.
Influencers play a very critical role. However, when you look at what are their goals in that, because when you look at it vis-a-vis the objectivity of the information shared, it actually overweighs the objectivity of the information shared. So what they prioritize is cash. If you're an influencer, she approaches you to promote Y254, then her stake is lower than what you're offering. And maybe you want someone to promote, or you want her to promote another media house, and the stakes are high. Of course, they'll always go for the highest bidder. So it becomes a challenge even for them to maintain or be able to maintain the objectivity, and also maintain that or observe the hygiene of the kind of information they are sharing. We've seen instances where majority of the influencers, they're actually influencing for something they don't know themselves. Majority of them, you see those who are influencing for either betting sites. Do they know how to bet? If you ask them, they don't know how to bet. They don't know how the history of that particular company. They don't know whether that company is out to fleece and scam people, or it is on a legit mission. So they can't tell themselves. What they are there is they have been offered cash, and because they have the influence out there, they have numbers either on Instagram, they just take the gig for the cash. So it becomes also a challenge, not only for their followers, but also for themselves. The moment adversity strikes, either that company or that particular institution is closed down, and then it is even a shock to themselves. They start saying, even me, I didn't know.
In their innocence.
They're innocent. So it is critical even for our social media influencers to be able to do a background check for the either the companies they're influencing for or they're working for, so that they can't, they shouldn't be the agents of fake news, demagoguery, and also misinformation, because it is a new thing in the town. Every other person is going for influencers. Whether you're starting a church, you go for influencers. So
just
it
find
is a
someone
new,
in that space and
it is a new trend in town, and it should be. I can't say it should be regulated, but it should be observed keenly, so that we have hygiene in that.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, Stephanie, for you to see how, what big role influencers play, think Kamala Harris. She was bringing out celebrities in her campaigns. That's how big a role influencers play in decision making, in passing of information. Like I was telling you before, you need to be keen. Now you see, influencers are celebrating their freedom of expression. Yeah, and just as Brian has said, at the back of their mind, it's cash.
True.
Yeah, what is driving them, their main objective is at the end of the day, let me make money. Now there's a different tier, what I would call top tier influencers. These are people who will do their due diligence, the way Brian has said, find out about this company, what are they offering, are there harmful sides to what they're offering. And now you see these top tier influencers, these knowledgeable influencers will say no to that deal, or they'll ask you, could you fix this fast, and I will help you push your product however much you want me to. Yeah, the same way, for me, I know if I want anything financial advice, my influencer of choice is Just Ivy. You see, now
because she has built a brand around integrity.
She has built that brand of integrity. By the time she is coming to tell you as her audience, you should, I think you should invest in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are confident, yeah. And even if you go back to the institution that she is advertising for, you will find that information consistently there, yeah. Now something else I like about now this top tier influencers is that, you see, just the way you have said, they protect the brand. They know how to protect brands. And for these verified influencers, there's that duty of care that they have to their audience. Yeah, compared to an unverified influencer, someone just blew up the other day dancing on TikTok. Why would I take financial advice? Yeah. Now, which brings me to my point of, to be influenced is your choice. Yeah. Okay. Influencers are your choice. If you choose to be influenced by person B instead of A, you can't come crying.
That
when
they
this
misled you.
information is readily there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, you see, I think in our country we have a challenge, or we have a problem with that, because someone does something funny, it's either funny
instantly
or
becomes a
something
sensation.
sensational. Then tomorrow, that person is considered an influencer. So what do they know about influencers?
Tomorrow anakuambia ndo ununue shamba pale.
They don't have any
Kidogo kidogo after umenunua shamba, you hear, no, actually that scheme was entirely bought out.
Yeah, it was actually a scam.
Exactly, which brings me back to credibility. Where are you getting your information from? Can you trust this person? Yeah. How do you know this person? Is this person a credible source of information?
Yeah.
Mtu anakuja anataka kukufunza accounts. Yeah. And they blew up on Twitter for eating githeri. You remember Githeri Man?
Githeri Man,
I'm glad he stuck to that. And akina Ugali Man. Imagine them coming to tell you, no, actually for financial advice, do 1, 2, 3, 4. Ama they're coming to give you legal advice. So you're better off getting legal advice from a lawyer.
Yeah.
Why are you going to look for legal advice from an influencer?
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you want financial advice, go to the bank.
Yeah, when you look at Kenyans, they always have a say in everything. They are actually experts in everything.
Yeah.
You go to TikTok,
That's the thing about Kenyans.
Guys are giving information and expertise in everything. So any other Kenyan, you meet a Kenyan, you talk to them about either health issues, they have a say in that, and they'll tell you what you should do about your health.
Your health.
They
And they're not doctors, they have
they're not doctors.
nothing on health.
But they have information, either they have learned from TikTok or elsewhere. So they believe that they have necessary information to guide you. You talk to them about either fitness, they'll tell you about fitness. Finance, they'll tell you about finance. So it becomes a challenge dealing with people who thinks that
they know everything. And that's why we need to protect ourselves, even as we come to a close on this conversation. Remember, I love that what you both have said on the people that you follow. Get credible people that you follow, have credible information. You know, influencers are there, but it's your decision on who influences you. I love it. So as a way of closing, what would you want to part with? Let me start with you, Joy, and then finish with you, Brad. And how can people also reach you on your platforms?
My parting statement is for everyone to be keen with whatever information they are consuming online. That's one. Two, for parents to honestly and genuinely be involved in their children's digital life. The online space is not safe for children. Thirdly, you who is putting out information, whether as an influencer, you're simply blogging on your page or just posting, kindly be keen to, whether if it's a joke, caption it as that. Tell people, let people know, by the way, this is a sarcastic post I am making. This is criticism. Let them know. Also, if you're not an expert at something, let the people who you're talking to know you're not coming from a point of no, you're coming from a point of opinion. And if you want to reach me, you can always follow me at Nana Mango on all social media channels. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Joy.
Thank you.
And to you, Brian?
For me, I'd say that social media is actually the biggest feedback loop that we have, where everyone else biases is being confirmed constantly. And the moment your bias is constantly being confirmed, and then you become vulnerable to misinformation, fake news, and other issues. And therefore, it's very important for us to ensure that we have critical we embrace skepticism. We have the critical thinking skills, and also we do our due diligence with the information that we either receive or share with others, because we shall be protecting ourselves and we shall be protecting our loved one and everyone in that particular space. Lastly, we need to be the advocates of ensuring that our social media platforms are hygienic. We need to maintain the hygiene of these platforms, because even truth that has been shared on unclean platforms, it tends to be suspicious. So it is important for us to ensure that the platforms are very hygienic, they are clean, and they it is actually it is good for everyone's use, whether they are children, whether it's grown-ups, the vulnerable members of the society, so that we have a good conversation, because these are platforms that we are consuming information, we are sharing information, and it's critical of us to ensure that it's hygienic. As for the duty bearers, it is important also to ensure that everyone else is safe. It's not about legislating, it's about ensuring that we maintain a safe space for all Kenyans to engage. The government need not to censor the freedoms of expression. Let people express themselves. But the government has a duty of ensuring that it does enough sensitization to the people to ensure that the people listening or consuming information online, they have the know-how of distinguishing between what is fake and what is real. And for the perpetrators, we need faster and urgent prosecutions. Yeah.
All right.
Otherwise,
Great.
thank you so much.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, both of you. This has been very insightful. We appreciate your time here. That has been Brian Singili and Joy Mango. They're both Digital Democracy Fellows at CRECO, and we've been talking about recognizing and resisting fake news. I hope you've taken something from this. The responsibility starts with you. Make sure that your digital spaces, your social media is hygienic enough, and be protective of what you consume. This is where we put a cap on it, because Brian Sakwa will be coming up next with yet another interesting conversation that you want to be a part of. Stay with us.
Y254. Imagine.
Say bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sports, music, entertainment news, live TV, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hands. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital App in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital App.
What's up, everybody? Have you heard of Bounce Nation? We are the latest, most stand-up show in 254.
You know how we do each and every Tuesday, Thursday. Mad vibes, mad music. When you see this face, amazing vibes, pure niceness, mad music. Now always kumbuka wewe ndoko in full control.
I'm unavailable. They know they see me.
I go by the name Feeling Jean.
And I am the beat doctor DJ Epic, straight out of Gas Chamber DJs. You know how we do.
Of course, catch us every single Tuesday and Thursday from 4 p.m. all the way to 7 p.m. for mad energy, good vibes, and interviews and interactions with your favorite celebrities.
Our stories shape our future. It's within them that we get to know ourselves.
God always came through in a way that we couldn't even explain. And we came to realize that putting God at the center of it is like everything else will just flow.
Everything.
What do you do when push comes to shove?
He was a great man. At that moment, he was supportive. Until 6 months, we went for the first surgery.
That's why here on The Nest, we tell you these stories to empower you and shape your parenting. Every Tuesday from 7:30 p.m. only on Y254.
This week on The Buzz, we have so much in store for you.
Nipange maneno ya bashi kidogo. Namna hii namna ile. na bado na hapa.
Tommy D. Jones tells us why he made the switch from secular music to gospel. Megan Thee Stallion has a new documentary out and we have all the details.
I'm having fun right now, and I don't want to do it. And I feel like, how could I be making a stallion and I'm not having fun?
We highlight the life story of actor Tom Hardy.
The wicked character. He's got dark tones and
Find out why Josh Wonder is the talk of town. Let's catch up on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. with me, Eve Nyaga, for this and more.
The young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports,
Drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
to keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine.
Y254. Imagine.
All right, and welcome back. You're still right with us right here on the hashtag Why in the Morning. This is the last part, and so we're inviting you to let us know where you're watching us from, and that includes on Facebook, literally the meta, you know, Facebook, Threads, and Insta at Y254 channel. And personally, mine is a Brian Sakwan one. Remember, we've asked you a question about money, and since you're talking about matters money as well, the conversation of today is about taxation. And one thing you need to know that for a government to fully, efficiently, successfully implement its functions, it has to operate with collecting revenue, and thus need a presence of a tax authority like Kenya Revenue Authority. But then there's tax laws, there's policies, and also the question sometimes is who determines, you know, a certain type of tax, and in terms of even the bracket itself. And then this again goes to, you know, citizens. By the way, you are required as a patriotic citizen of this country to pay tax because it's under the law. There's somebody who was asking me, are you naturally born a taxpayer in Kenya? And definitely those are some of the questions you are going to get answered by our guest who is live in studio as well, and also including the digital part, the digital market space. How's taxation and taxation systems tapping into that, especially when it comes to now the SMEs and literally how that whole spectrum of revenue collection works. So we're being joined live in studio by Dr. Regina Wanja Kingori. She's a tax expert, she's an entrepreneur, she's a mentor, she's done a lot, and she has a lot of vast experience. Karibu sana, Daktari.
Asante sana.
Right.
I'm so happy to be here and for this invitation. So thank you so much.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
So we want to get straight up into the conversation about taxes. And the common thing is filing taxes, yeah?
Yeah.
And then I was actually listening to a conversation where people are complaining that nowadays the taxes are way up there. And then now that we have a tax authority like KRA, why was there a need to have, you know, KRA there? And then also, what are some of the policies and the measures that go into such a body that's so sensitive? You know, when you talk about KRA and taxes, it's such an emotive thing with Kenyans, you know?
Yes.
And but it's your patriotic right as a citizen. And just like I've said, people say nowadays you're born a taxpayer.
Yeah.
So there's so much that goes into that space, and you have a lot of experience. Please expound.
Okay. So thank you. I believe at this moment, tax is one of the hot debates that people want to know. particularly because there's a lot of advocacy and a lot of talks about taxes.
Yeah.
I believe even that time people are still paying taxes, but because it was not an everyday conversation, we weren't so clear or guided about it. But now it's an everyday conversation. Even you ask about children, they can tell you something about taxation.
Yeah.
So
Zakayo.
Zakayo, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you ask a grandma in the village, she'll tell you that the price of sugar has a lot of taxes. They've come to understand what it means to be taxed and everything.
Yeah, and that points to VAT now as a professional.
Yes, yes, yes. So the way you're saying you're born a taxpayer, most probably is because of the items that you're buying.
Right.
If you look at some of our items that we consume, they are highly taxed. So possibly when in the village you don't have a salary, you don't have a business, but you're buying something from a supermarket or buying your food, you're still paying the value added tax. Even our children, when they are born, the clothes they wear, the items they use, we pay.
Even the birth certificate is taxable. You know, that somebody was saying that. Yeah.
Okay, at the moment, because we have the regulations, if you look now, if you lose your ID, you have to pay for it. The same way if you have to get the birth certificate.
Yes.
So there are other levies. Those are other levies that are put there, possibly to earn money or to also regulate the whole process. Because even when it comes to the printing of ID, it's still costly. So if you keep losing, going back, keep losing, going back, it's still a cost to the government. So those are levies. But at the moment, we have a lot of tax. The way you say that the government needs to function. And it needs these taxes to be able to function. So that is the most probable part about the taxes. The only thing at the moment where we are in is that our tax collection is way lower than what we are spending.
Right.
So if you look
lower
at the budget,
in terms of revenue collection, or lower in terms of the earnings that they receive from the netizens?
Yes, the collection, and of course those are the earnings that they are going to receive. The collection is way lower. If you look at the budget for 2024, 2025, it was ambitious. We came to about 3.9 trillion. In the view of about 2.2 trillion collection. So you can imagine it's almost double.
Right.
So when we are at that position, and when you look at that 3.9 trillion, most of it was payment of debt, recurrent budgets. The recurrent budget is a budget that we spend the money to pay doctors, to pay hospital, to buy medicine, to pay MPs, and those recurrent is money that we are spending. The government is a heavy consumer of these taxes. So when it comes to now, development becomes very small portion, or it is none if the current budget is not able to feature there. So also when we look at the collection, there are other areas that are also affecting the collection. The standard of living right now is quite expensive. So people spending, the spending power is not there. So you find at the end of the day, the companies, possibly the companies that were collecting a lot of money, they are unable to do collections. So they are also not able to pay taxes. So it has a ripple effect on even the collection.
Yeah. If we were to switch this conversation to, I'd say, a Gen Z perspective, maybe we can start off with the specific. I know income tax and also VAT, they are the most unavoidable, like inescapable if you were to look at it in that angle. So maybe let's look at it from a person who is working, the type of tax that they are paying and what the government is, you know, deducting from them. I hear there's deductibles as well. It means there's a bracket as well in which this, as far as this, let's say from 10,000 to 20, this is what we deduct here. So talk about that and more.
That's a good conversation. And let's talk about this Gen Z. Who is employed, first of all? We'll come to them that are doing business. So who is employed? They're getting a salary. So if they're getting a salary that is above 24,000, they're supposed to be taxed for pay as you earn. And pay as you earn, we have even different tax brackets that were introduced, 35%, 32.5%. So they're, according to their where they feature their salary, they get the pay as you earn. But if you're employed, you also come with other 4 We have SHA or SHIF, we have NSSF, we have NITA, we have housing levy.
Housing levy.
Yes.
That's under Act
yes.
2023?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Yeah, 2023.
23, and it was
Okay.
reinstated. You remember it has a lot of court cases.
Yes.
But around October, the end of October, it was reinstated that it should be followed. So that introduced the housing levy, the e-teams, the fuel from 8% to 16%. It was quite expensive.
Yeah.
So it's working. So for somebody who is getting employed, actually if you check, for instance, if you're doing payee, you'll be charged possibly according to your rate, possibly 20% or 25, 30%, depending.
Of your gross?
Yes, of your gross, depending on your salary. Then you go to housing levy, 1.5%. We have the employer does 1.5%.
Yeah.
We have NSSF and we have NHIF is 2.75% of that money.
That is for SHIF.
For SHIF. For SHIF.
Yeah.
NSSF also, it has a new tax.
Oh, they've adjusted this
Yes,
month
yes.
or the coming one?
They're coming.
The coming
Trial,
month.
new tires for that also. So if you look at all that, there's a lot of, and
Deductions,
especially,
yeah.
yes, and especially,
And both of them, sorry to cut it, all of them are statutory?
Yes.
And so it's like around 6 taxes up katikati?
Yes, 5.
5 now?
5.
Good Lord,
Yes.
okay.
So you find, especially now that SHIF has come in law last month,
yeah.
we saw so many people complain about now their new salary, because the 2.75 is the employer doesn't even contribute on your behalf. It is
right. It's directly deducted from
your salary. And the previous one had a capping to about 1,700. But this one, if you're earning more, there are people who even paying 20,000, 30,000 out of their salary. So that is somebody who is employed. And there's nothing that you can do about it. And as a company out there who has employees, they have to follow those rules.
Yeah, meaning that they're paying allegiance, or they're not even allegiance. They're being controlled by KRA,
yes,
right?
Yes, they are the collecting agent to KRA. For all the employees you're having, do this. And remember, the companies could also be having casuals.
Right.
So these people are below the 24,000 and they are there. So you still have to do the NHIF, the SHIF for them, the housing levy for them, even if they are not under the payee bracket.
Right.
And also you as a business owner, you the director of the company, you're supposed also to pay as an employee of your company.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is the work of the employer side and what do they do? And then now for you as an employee, what do you receive?
So at the end of the day, you get your pay slip. It has all the deduction. The employer deducts and pays KRA.
Right.
And pays the NHIF and SSF, they pay on your behalf. If today KRA comes to your organization and they find you did not do that, you as the employer, you're the one who is responsible. So they're going to charge penalties and interest to you as an employer. And even if that employee left, you're going to pay on their behalf. Even if you did not deduct, you're going to pay on their behalf.
Yeah.
So it is the employer obligation to do that.
Right.
So that is on the somebody, agency who is employed.
Right. Now who is in business now?
Now who is in business now, you have to pay taxes on your income. And we have categories. You could register for turnover tax. You could register for corporation tax. Most of our companies come with the corporation tax at the end of the year, 30%.
Right.
And when you're doing the corporation tax, you have to mind your bookkeeping.
Right. Now meaning now people like you come into play.
Yes. So you have to look at how you keep your books. You have to show your sales. You have to show your expenses very well, because those are the calculation you're going to use to lower your profits. So you find our Gen Z, because you are able to know how you're running your business, you don't mind bookkeeping.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if KRA will knock on your door and tell you, bring your books, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
So that is...
But then, sorry, just to interrupt, what is the function of now a certificate, a tax compliance certificate, if you've done the rest of the work? I thought that's where you give it to them now when they visit you.
No. You might be having a tax compliance, but you're not compliant with taxes.
Right, meaning that you've not been constantly filing or you've been evading.
You've been filing.
Uh-huh.
Even many companies, they even have tax arrears, but they have a tax compliance certificate. So a tax compliance certificate is a certificate you apply online.
Right.
If you pay your taxes and your ledger, we call it the ledger, doesn't have any arrears, you can get a tax compliance. But today KRA can come, because KRA is obligated to audit your books for 5 years. This is what they do.
Right.
All the returns we do are self-assessment.
Yes.
You sit down, you do it. You sit down, do the return. You sit down, do the audited report. KRA on their side, they are supposed to verify what you've been doing. So they will stay for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. They are supposed to come back and review your books.
And that is for institutions now. And that could include government agencies and also non-government agencies.
Yes.
And now businesses at large.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone who is doing business. So organizations, institutions, even business owners.
Right.
And right now we are having a lot of tax audit because the collections are low. So a lot of letters are sent out there for now companies to be audited.
Right.
So I came back to the point. So KRA can come in and look at your books and actually find you did not pay your taxes well. You have the tax compliance certificate, yes, but you're having tax issues. Yes.
Meaning that?
Meaning now that you have to solve your tax issues. And if they do a demand, when you do audit, they will give you findings at the end of it. So possibly they tell you pay 3 million. So they look at your mostly when.
And how do they estimate that? I'm also wondering what are the instruments they'll use if they visit me. I'm located here with my hypermarket or supermarket.
Yes.
How will they do this estimation? Are they going for product by product and the consumer behavior and the number of clients I have and the size, or what are the considerations?
I'll tell you. Mostly when they come, remember they are coming for past history.
Right.
So we are coming 2024, we not touch 24, 23 backward for 5 years. So when we come, already you told them that you sold, for instance, 2023, you sold 5 million in that supermarket. You have your expenses. At the end of it, you paid them 100,000 for corporation tax. So they want to confirm if this 100,000 was correct or you evaded tax. So when they come, the very first thing they want to look at your bank statement.
Yeah.
They want to see your till numbers and your pay bill numbers. So you told them you sold 5 million.
Right.
When you give them your bank statement, most of Kenyans, I've done this for 10 years, most you find your bank statement is way higher. Your M-Pesa, your till is way, way higher. So you find the bank has 10 million.
Right.
So it is a 5 million over what you even declared. So that's what they are looking for.
Right.
And actually, if they find it is 2 million, 3 million that you did not declare, they'll just charge 30% of that. That's about 900,000. Yes, it's quite expensive. About 900,000 to pay.
Right.
So they'll also check VAT if you're in a vatable position, if you did not do your VAT well. So the same amount, possibly they find that you did not declare 3 million, for instance. You did not declare 3 million. So they'll charge that 3 million for corporation tax and for VAT if your business is vatable. So for VAT, 16%, for corporation, 30%.
Right.
So that's quite expensive. Then they also look at your employee. They find that when they come in, your payroll has 10 people, yet your pay as you earn report you've been filing has 3 people. So they also charge you for that. They also find that you're supposed to be doing withholding. You had professional fees. I came to you as a tax auditor or an auditor. You pay me 50,000, you did not withhold 5%. Or a legal fee, you paid, you did not withhold 5%, they'll charge you that 5%.
Right.
So it will become a letter of finding with all these taxes and then pay us this money.
And then now it's a penalty?
Yes,
so
penalty.
You can also now head to jail. They can take you to jail for that.
No,
because we've seen, I think it's been with Tabitha from the Karoche. They're on and offs, on and offs. But then sometimes there's things like tax relief. I know you'll talk about that later on. But then what I'm also wondering is, all these transactions and everything we are talking about is revolving around revenue collection, and our KRA is the final authority. So that means there's need to be, for, I'd say, a sound tax collection system. I want you to talk about that and how that is imperative.
Okay. Okay, I know first of all, doing business in Kenya is not easy, and most of the time we are looking of a way that we don't pay taxes, the right taxes. Of course, KRA is a collecting agent, and every time we have this conversation, open discussion with KRA, we always tell them that you push us so much, you audit us, you push business people. Right. But when it comes to spending, because that is where the problem is, when it comes to spending, they'll say we don't spend the money.
Right.
The money is spent in treasury and those other. So when we hear about corruption, KRA says, no, we are doing our mandate of collection. So for me, when I look at now handling taxes and the issues, and if we would improve on collection, we also need to cater on the expenditure. As in the same energy they are spending on collection and audits, the same they do it on
expenditure.
On the expenditure. I
But then when it's laundered, what usually happens? Because we have a case even right here of Nairobi. I think they say Nairobi County collects more than 4 billion.
Yeah.
Is it per month? I don't know if that's in 2 months. I think it's per month. And that money just disappears, but then you ask, where was KRA when this money was disappearing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness. You know, for me, I've done this for that time. There are so many loopholes around when we look at the collection of the county government, they use, for instance, if you look for parking, they use that number. That's a whole collection system that is not intertwined with KRA. Yes, it's not intertwined with KRA.
So it's with county of
it's
revenue,
county yes, it's revenue county. Actually, the money collection in Kenya is collected in so many.
Yeah. It has like kitties with individuals assigned.
Yes. So, and you remember this county, if you go to, this is Nairobi County, if you go to Kiambu, they have their own collection mechanism. So, and when we talk about those collection, remember, we have parking, we have licenses, we have even hospitals. When you go to a hospital and you pay, where do that money go?
Right.
All those are collection spaces that they are getting that money from. So you find that there's a lot of collection that is happening every day. If you look at all the hawkers, you even find people who come asking for very small amounts of money just all over. So collection is happening. System for collections is happening. But now the area where we are having issues is on expenditure side.
Right. And that's beyond now the local Mwananchi.
Yeah.
Because you've done your work. Yeah. Somebody said they've terrorized your paycheck this month, and now it's up to them. Yeah. But then we keep on hearing, you know, like I think for October, I was checking a report where KRA surpassed their target. They collected, I think, 210. They initially had targeted to collect 201. Yes. In such a case, is it good news for the Mwananchi? Because I'm also expecting now, if it's good news, it means they should lower at least the tax bracket. But you can also talk about the tax bracket and how it affects now the local Mwananchi, and also how is it stipulated? You know, who are the authorities? I'll say the actors who come up with these tax brackets and the banding, right?
Yes.
Yes. Please talk about it.
So when we come to making tax changes, there are so many. There's so many players in the market. Remember, KRA is just a collection agency. We have the treasury, we have the tax policies, we have public participation. Every time we're having a bill, like now we are having amendments, they're in the parliament. So there's all this, even the finance bill has to go all the way to the parliament. You remember first hearing, second hearing, third, then all those. So there is a committee that sit down and say, and remember, we are having also external forces, IMF, World Bank.
Oh, they determine a
Yes,
lot
they also
on the
determine
taxes.
because they have given us loans.
Yeah.
They want their loans to be paid. So when the country is struggling to pay, they will say, bring your taxes, we see why is the collection having issues. So they also determine, so they are external force. If we didn't have them, that's okay. But they are, because they want to protect their money
Right.
and make sure that they are repaid.
With interest, if it
With
has
the interest,
accrued.
yes, with the interest. So there are all these players who put things together and they say, why don't we have this and this? When that rule, when the bill is put together, should go to parliament. So there are so many other players. And we remember we have the public participation. And this public participation has to come to even to institutions. ISPAC. ISPAC has to be given that amendment to go through. There are so many other players, and we give those participations before it comes low. So it's a very vigorous process to just,
come into play. But then that affects now the state of the economy.
Yes.
Now inflation.
Yes,
and
a lot. A lot.
Was it last week when the deputy president said inflation is now down? Is it by 1.7 or 2.7%?
Yeah.
And Kenyans went ablaze on social media saying that's not possible. In fact, that's when they are more hard pinched. Right now, it's like it's going down and downer. You know.
Yeah. Actually, when we even say, they even say the flour, the maize flour is cheaper. But you cannot be able to feel it. Let me tell you something. When the government doesn't have money to spend, the money is for recurrent budget, like it comes to your pocket, to the other pay for drug, but doesn't have money to pay for development.
Yes.
Where you're now paying a contractor, you're paying for delivery of items. There is no money in circulation. It's like when you're having a salary, your own salary at home, and when you come home, you just say, I can only pay rent, pay school fees. We are going to minimize our budget on eating. We are going to eat this. We don't have money. People, at the moment, people don't have the buying power.
Right. The purchasing power.
The purchasing power. So that's why we can't feel the issue. So there's a lot of cost strain. The collection that is done is not equivalent to what they want to spend.
Right. But then they collect at the end of the month. And people will wonder, Koni pesa zinaenda up, collect. Like for this month, with the 2.75% for SHIF, they'll expect things are going to at least take a different, positive turn. But again, they're hit with bad news. In fact, they're saying things are now worse. So meaning again, they're coming up with you've just mentioned, in fact, is it Treasury, Cabinet Secretary, and they want to resuscitate some facets of the hotly rejected 2024 finance bill. And of course, it had a place, I think, where the digital tax, we'll talk about the digital markets shortly. Yeah. So when you look at such things and how, the local management is being affected, do you believe we have a functional tax system from an expertise view, or we are still in the baby making process? So this is a development thing. Today it's better, tomorrow it's shaky, today it's good news, tomorrow is bad news from your observation.
That's a good one. For instance, when we talk about collection, like this month becoming at the target or a bit higher, the government, how collection is happening is also how expenditure is happening. It's happening currently. So it's not that they are collecting, storing somewhere, then at the end of the year, that is when we start spending. No.
Oh, it's in and out?
Yes.
Okay.
At the same time. So when this money gets to Treasury, it decides according to the budget and appropriation budget, we're supposed to spend this, they. So it's happening concurrently. Okay. So if there are deficits, they are happening at the same time. Yeah, so there's no money in store to just say, oh, we're going to now start doing this. That's why you hear there's delays to send money to the counties, or there were delays for this, because there is a committee that sat down and said, for the money we have collected, what is the most probable need at the moment? So spend here, spend here, spend here.
Right.
Then this waits.
Right.
So when we talk about the collection system, there's a lot to happen, for sure, a lot.
Is it for now? Maybe you can talk about for individuals, and then we can switch to institutions now.
Yeah. So for individuals, if I were there, first of all, for business owners who are struggling to start, because doing a business in Kenya is quite something.
It's a business itself.
It's a business itself. Yeah. Having the incentive that if you're at a below this level, we're okay with you.
Startup level.
Startup level.
Actually, most cropping ones are startups.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
SMEs. Yeah.
SMEs. And remember, SMEs, by the time they even stabilize, is 3-4 years. And most, we are told 75% businesses collapse within 5 years.
Yeah. In fact, today we've read about 3,000 of them closing.
Yes.
And they are attributing it to finance bill and COVID.
Yes.
So I'm like, COVID is now 5 years ago. What else are we going to say?
Yeah.
You know, they're adding in the anti-finance, protests. So we're also trying to weigh how did they affect, closure of SMEs.
Yes.
But it's worth a reason anyways. It's worth a reason.
Yeah. So, for instance, let me say when it comes to entrepreneurs, because I interact so much with entrepreneurs, we are in a different season that requires your business to be done in a very smart way.
Right.
So it's not the way you open a hotel and everybody just comes in. So right now things are different. There's a digital perspective.
Yeah.
The people that you're serving are quite knowledgeable. They are quite, customer service has to be keynote. So you find people who are coming with so many ideas. Like now if you go to a business like a Mokonji and you just say, oh, I just opened somewhere, I put my cups in. There are people there. There are people going to China and they are selling those things all the way from China. So there's a different perspective. You have now to focus in a different angle. Customers are now very sensitive. Today, you cannot say, I have royal customers. Today, they are yours. Tomorrow, they are somewhere else. Yeah. So there's a lot of changes that happen from COVID downwards. I believe life took us to a perspective to just know that things can change.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you would argue and say, COVID is now 5 years gone. Why are we still reeling from the same effect,
There are businesses that have never been able to recover. Especially when possibly your collection was still high, especially for businesses that had debt, loans. Those one who could collapse because you couldn't be able to pay your loans. Even right now, first of all, the interest rates are very high at this point. And if you're looking to a business and you have loans, high loans, with the purchasing power being low, that you're not able to pay you balance of everything. So if you had those projects that were very expensive and loans, you might be having issues. And so for me, for people that I'm seeing them able to thrive right now, because there are still businesses that are thriving, they are doing something different. They are able to have a lot of customer service. They are selling in cash. They are able to do collection. That is not credit days. You know, the business that you stay for 30 days without payment. If you do that, you're going to close.
Right.
So you have to consider cash business, consider customer service, a lot of it, digital tools, a lot of social media marketing.
It's a digital market now. It's literally another full entity that's now taxable on its own.
Yes. A lot of putting your product out there, making your product very good. Now the people that you are selling to have to even view your branding, view your credibility. So the customer is knowledgeable more than before.
Like they know what they want already even before the product is on the shelf.
And before they came to you, they looked for 10 of you online. And then they came.
They landed on you.
Yes.
By grace. We have like 6 minutes to go. Time is really running fast. I want you to talk about, is it possible for small businesses to receive things like tax breaks or tax reliefs? As there's a word that's also called tax holiday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How does it come into play now for, I'd say, SMEs specifically?
Okay.
Is it possible for them to have a period of break?
Yes.
And factors that lead to that?
Yes. First of all, for SMEs, don't register your business to be VATable. I've seen them, because VAT is quite expensive. I've seen people making that mistake until you start and you hit 5 million turnover. So don't register, even if you're selling something VATable, until you hit the 5 million threshold. When you do, now register at that point.
And that's $50,000. That means you'll have to be in operation for quite a season time.
Yes, yes. So that one covers you as an SME. The next point that is that you can do is bookkeeping. I see people, SMEs lose on that. When you open a business, most probably you're going to make a loss first year, possibly second year, you're just struggling, but you don't have records. So even if you made a loss, you're not supposed to pay taxes, but you cannot demonstrate that loss. So bookkeeping and getting an accounting software that can help you being able to maintain that and show your bookkeeping very well, that is also an advantage.
Right.
The other spaces, when you're having employees, not unless if they are not at 24,000, if they are below, you don't have to pay. Yeah. But you as a business owner, you're the first employee of the company, so you're supposed to pay as you earn. And just the other part is just tax knowledge. For us as a company, LWK Africa, we train on taxes. Yeah. Tax webinars every month. Just some knowledge, having that basic knowledge as an entrepreneur.
You'll give the details of how people can get to see that.
Yes, that knowledge of tax will help you. When you're even engaging with somebody, you are able to engage in the correct manner. Yeah,
I'd like you to shortly, because we are just about to exit, before you say how people can get to hear from you. I think the importation part also matters, because there's people who import goods from us outside country, and now the customs come into play. But then we've had so many scandals, especially at the declaration point, and you know, the people and the authorities there. So what happens when it comes, for example, if you import, let's imagine, which one is my favorite? Tesla, one of the latest from Elon Musk, a Cybertruck, yeah? Yes. How do they determine the value of that car so that KRA collects its own, and then the customs and then everything else, and then finally they come up with they generate what? Yes. There's a document they generate. Yes. Just forgotten the name. Yes, exactly.
So you must provide an invoice of how much you purchased your goods. And that's where the mistakes come in.
For Mutumba, specifically, we'll talk about Mutumba.
Mutumba, yes. So what people do, the IDF, the import declaration form, you write that you bought this Mutumba for 2 million, yet you bought for 4 million.
So you lied.
You lied. Then they can, so you're supposed to submit a packing list, an invoice, and that IDF. That they are going to determine. When they look at right now they are able to even count. So, and they have those forms that this should be this much. They have margins, so they can even be able to see how much you're supposed to pay. Yeah. Then we have investigation unit in KRA. And this is what I would want to caution people who are doing import. You might be able to lie today, or you use a clearing and forwarding person who lies. You're innocent, but that person, when they were doing this transaction on your behalf, they cut out corners. They have
their own nefarious ways.
Yes. But the investigation unit is very active. They'll stay for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. They'll get all those information.
Right.
And they will ask you even for bank statement to see how much you paid on the other side. So your bank statement cannot lie. Some of people buy with the LCs from the bank. So you cannot say this LC was paying something different and your IDF has something different. Right. So you find it a very hard case to solve. So I would encourage you to just go the right way.
Yeah, it's hard pinching. Yes. You'd lose something, but
even
you've done it the right way.
Hair. Yeah, by the way, right now they can tell you this hair is not for $20, it's for $40.
But then how did we figure to a point that we are taxing nails? But anyway, it's a lucrative business.
Cosmetic is a very, if you go to Dubai, it's a big
it's booming.
Business. It's booming.
Yeah, so please tell how people can get to find you, and the part that we've not talked about, they can pick up with you on social. Please tell them on social media and how they can get.
All right. So my name is Dr. Regina Kengori, CPAK. You can see me on socials. LWK Africa, you can also see us there. We do a lot of tax training and training on bookkeeping, audit. We always believe that when you learn, you understand, you're able to make better business decisions. Our webinars are free, and we have a webinar, by the way, on 15th
How can
this Friday.
Do they need tickets? Do they
No,
need
when you come on our social, you're going to see
right.
the code.
Oh, there's a number there as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Or I can share
Please
a number.
share very fast
Okay.
in 10 seconds because we're exiting.
Okay.
In 10 seconds.
07228. Okay.
Right at Y254 channel, what have you learned about taxes? And if you have many questions, I'll share with her off the air to ensure that you tag us on the socials. Please share the number.
0728 89 74 29. And we have a launch that we are doing. We are doing rebranding. We have a mentorship program, especially for people who want to learn about business. They can come 22nd. That is next week on Friday, MKU Auditorium from 9 to 2. You can get all that in our social media handles.
There's a number there, and that's the one that you've given as well.
That is good. 0728 89 74 29.
All right. Thank you. So you know how to get started. If you're a business owner, if you are starting the journey of entrepreneurship, if you want to also become an expert like her, she's also a mentor and entrepreneurship. She has all the vast skills that you need. Ensure that you call that number.
On 15th, we'll be learning about how to start and grow a consultancy firm.
Wow, super amazing. Thank you so much, Daktari Regina Wanza Kingori, for sharing your insights. Karibu sana. All right, so we also say thank you to you too for watching us from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll see you tomorrow bright and early right here. Enjoy your Tuesday.